you're watching the Top 6 Show, the original multi-club fan channel. Make sure you're following us now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The link is in the description below. Welcome back to the Top 6 Show, sponsored by NordVPN. Get yourself signed up now to their brilliant product, which protects you and your personal data when using the internet. You can have it on up to 5 devices at any one time. So sign up now using the QR code on the screen or link below for a big discount. It's very cheap indeed. And we've got a big thing to tell you about that later. Very cheap way of watching Premier League football and much more. Loads to delve into today. Mohammed Kudus, Brennan Johnson to Chelsea, Reece James injured again. We're looking at deals for Amrabat, Gravenberch, Doucoure as well to Liverpool, and much, much more to come, and debating the inner goings on of football and previewing the Premier League games that return this weekend with the headline games, really, Newcastle, Man City, and Tottenham versus Manchester United as well. And of course, we will get onto Liverpool because he wouldn't be able to Endo the stream without talking about their new midfield dynamo in the middle as well. But first of all, my panel, as well as you can see, Tom is here with us today. Staffy's back by popular demand. Man like Mo is here. The Don, the new Don of the Terrace, has arrived below, and George is on his way. Not too sure where he is, but he's on his way, and he'll be with us very soon indeed. I wanted to start off, though, with a bit of Manchester United news, Staffy, because the Amrabat deal, there's talk of a hijack from Liverpool, but it was kind of played down by some of the prominent journalists in Italy that United are still leading the way. But there is growing frustration, they say, with Ten Hag, because he can't get these deals done, because the Glazers won't allow new incoming until more players leave. Is Man United's transfer window at risk of becoming a poor one because of this?
Yes, because I'm not going to lie, this gave me flashbacks of Gakpo last season. When we wanted him, we agreed personal terms. He was okay with joining the club. The manager really wanted him. And for whatever reason, the club held off because they didn't like the fees involved. They thought maybe we're overpaying for him. And then Liverpool just came out of nowhere and swooped him. So that was the first thing I thought of when I saw these news. So unfortunately, it's another situation. Listen, I'm not a financial expert. I'm not going to speak on the financial part of the club in terms of balancing the books too much. But, you know, it just shows me on another instance that football is not prioritized in this club. It's usually finances first. You know, I look at Chelsea and I see them blowing everyone out of the water with their money. I don't know how they're doing it, but they're finding ways to do it, while our ownership is sitting here waiting to sell another midfielder over Fred, I guess, to go sign a 25 million, I think he is, midfielder from Fiorentina, which is not a world, like a record-breaking signing, you know what I mean? He's not 100 million. We're not really breaking the bank for it. So the fact that we can't get little deals like that over the line with about less than 2 weeks left over the transfer window to end, I do understand Ten Hag's frustrations, and I would be frustrated too if I was him. You know, it's frustrating for the fans, and it's definitely frustrating for him.
Hold on, is it not his fault? Okay, he's the one who prioritized Mason Mount. Okay, can someone explain to me how a manager that knows the ins and outs of his squad is prioritizing Mason Mount, who, as of now, in my opinion, I think it was the wrong priority. He should have signed someone like Amrabat first to balance the squad, since he knows that Eriksen is falling down the cliff and you need someone like him first, like Amrabat first, before you go. Unless you guys are telling me that it's the club who signed Mason Mount and it wasn't Ten Hag.
No,
explain that to me.
I can answer that.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's telling you that. That isn't what's being said at all. And I think that that's your impression. The manager's view is, I wanted Mason Mount first, and he's going to not live and die by that decision, but he'll be assessed on that decision throughout the course of the season. But he's been told, we're going to get rid of these other players for you, sharpish, and you'll get your other targets. So I agree with you. I would have signed Amrabat first. But that doesn't negate from the fact that he hasn't been given what he was promised. And he was promised by now 2 or 3, 4 more players would have left the club. But Bay's still here. Maguire's still here. McTominay's still here. Fred's only just left. Donny's still here. I mean, the only one that I give the club a break on is Anthony Martial, because nobody's made an inquiry for him. Yeah. So you can't even blame them for not being able to sell him, because we can. They should never have given him a new deal. They should have got rid of him years ago. But that's not there. So I get where you're coming from. I would have gone for him first. However, my manager track record with our signings, I've been pretty happy with so far. He was told this is the right order to do it and get it done in, and it hasn't quite worked out for him. So I do get his frustration, if that makes sense. And the club, I think as well, like he probably, along with a lot of other people, expected us to be sold by now. I think a lot of people, like most of the experts on that, thought it was going to be done in March. So we're now looking at, we're halfway through August and it's nowhere near being done. A lot of people have been lied to. And I do get the frustration, but we have to go and get Amrabat. We have to go and get him. And we are now linked to Gravenberch as well. And like Staffy, from your point of view as a United fan, would you be happy with that profile of player coming in alongside Amrabat? How do you see that as a deal?
Yeah, I would. He worked with the manager before. He actually wanted him last season because he went to Bayern very early, but he rated him very highly. I remember how much he talked about him before we even got Ten Hag. He talked very highly of Gravenberch. And I would say his stint at Bayern didn't really work so far. He definitely looked better in Ajax than he did in Bayern. I haven't been following Bayern closely, but I don't even think he plays the same amount of minutes that he used to get. So I feel like that kind of progressed his development. But in terms of the profile of the player he is, a lot of people are saying, no, we need an out-and-out six to recover, to back up Casemiro. I see that, but that's what Amrabat is for. Gravenberch is a little bit different. He can basically play the role that Eriksen played last season, but have the physical attributes that Eriksen lacked. First of all, he's a left-footed midfielder, so he creates balance in that midfield. He is good. He has the physical attributes to be good on defending, but he's actually good on the ball. So if you can imagine the way that we played last season, let's say you take Mason Mount out of the team right now and you put in Gravenberch. Now you have Casemiro, Gravenberch, and Bruno ahead of them. I look at that midfield as much more balanced on and off the ball. So I don't know how much it would cost if we do get this deal done. I don't think Bayern even want to sell, because from the reports that I read that Liverpool and Manchester United inquired about the player, but for now he's not for sale until any further updates are made in the next couple weeks. But I do think he's a good profile player to have in this team and in this midfield to create a little bit more balance.
Are you not frustrated that you're linked with him before you get Amrabat over the line? I think Amrabat is way more important. If you get Gravenberch tomorrow,
why do you want me to be mad, bro?
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because I'm looking at someone like Liverpool, and I'm afraid for Man United. I'm sitting here. Listen, I like Ten Hag, but the way you played that first game, and it's only the one game that we can assess. It's not gonna work. I'm sorry, Gravenberch, 21 years old. I don't think he's experienced enough to lead that midfield. You need someone to dictate the tempo, which was Eriksen did in the first half of last season. Amrabat, 26 years old. I watched him enough to know that he's a great player. He comes in, start right away. Yeah, I'm looking at your first game, and I think he starts right away. If I'm a Man United fan, I would be upset that I can't get Amrabat over the line now. I'm looking at another player, another target before I finish this one, who is, I think, the most important signing now for your season to be a success, in my opinion. Why the club is focused somewhere else?
Yeah,
sorry. Go on, Staffy. Go on.
I was just going to say, usually clubs don't just look at one player and one player only, and I think we all know that. So you always have backups, two-year backups, just in case you don't get Amrabat. Like, let's be very honest. What if Liverpool, since the news came out yesterday that they inquired about him, what if he's like, you know what? I want to go play in Liverpool right now. I don't want to go to Man United anymore. Maybe he just wanted to go there. Now that option is gone. Even though we agreed personal terms with him. Do you sit here and you don't have any backup, or do you inquire on more than one player just in case your plan A failed? And I want to also remind you one more thing, because you asked this question earlier when you were saying, isn't it the manager's fault that he prioritized Mason Mount over Amrabat earlier in the summer? And I keep reminding you of this player because I don't know why you keep forgetting that he exists. He played in all our preseason games until he got injured. Kopiuming. He was the DM that he wanted to give the minutes to over Eriksen. Unfortunately for him, he got injured. So when you look at when the Mount signing was made, we already had two players in that DM position that he knew he was going to start the season with. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't mean that he was going to sign another DM, but he knows by priority, he wants, as an example, he wanted Mount, who's going to play higher up the pitch. So let me get that one done first, because I still have my two players that play deep, and then I'm going to try to get an Amrabat or someone else. So the priority looks bad now because we did get an injury, but we weren't that thin in the DM position until the Madrid game.
I think it also depends as well. And I know I get where you're coming from, Mo, but sometimes it's about understanding the situation. So Amrabat pretty early on in the window said, I'm happy to wait for Man United. I know they've got to do a lot of business before I come in. The situation with Mount, again, it's not someone I want, but the manager wanted him quite desperately. But you had Liverpool that were also in for him as well. Would Mount have waited until now to sign for Man United? Maybe not. So if you've got a situation where Amrabat's willing to wait until the end of the window, but Mason Mount isn't, then you've got to switch with the order in which you sign people. I think that's the thing I would say to football fans. This notion that you sign your number one target first doesn't always happen. There's no way, in my opinion, Kai Havertz was a bigger priority signing for Arsenal than Declan Rice, but they signed him first. Kovacic wasn't a bigger priority signing, in my opinion, than even Paqueta or Guardiola, based on the price money they're spending, but that's the order of which they came in. So I do get where you're coming from. And of course, there is an element here of criticism towards Ten Hag, because a lot of us criticize him for signing Mason Mount in the first place. However, the club told him, we are going to get sales through for you. We are going to raise additional money. And people in that department haven't delivered with their side of the job. And the owners are struggling when it comes to releasing more money. And that's the frustrating bit, because we shouldn't be in this position. But it always comes down to this at Man United all the time. It gets to penny pinching, and then we struggle to give the manager exactly what he wants, because Chelsea are getting what Poch is getting what he wants. Arteta's getting what he wants. Pep gets what he wants. But our managers invariably do get exactly what they want. We spend money, but the amount of times we miss out at the most opportune moments to go and get people. We did it to Jose. He wanted a midfielder. They weren't willing to spend the money on who he wanted, so they went for a slightly cheaper option in Fred and spent £50 million on him, and it never worked. We've done this so regularly at Man United. It's why I think a lot of us are saying to Liverpool fans, you could be in trouble here, because we see patterns of not getting the right people, not spending the money early enough. Then you end up overspending on people that are not good enough later on down the line, and it creates you burn the candle at both ends. So it's going to be interesting to see how it works out. And of course, we're going to touch on the Tottenham Man United game later on in the stream. Kind of moving into Liverpool a bit here, because Liverpool have also inquired about these two players. According to a number of reports today, Czech Doucoure is now Liverpool's number one midfield target after Lavia and Caicedo, of course, joined Chelsea. They have made inquiries about Ryan Gravenberch and Amrabat, but it does feel like it's Doucoure for you guys. Is that the right decision from this point, Tom, or would you rather the Man United targets instead?
No, Czech Doucoure is the right way forwards. He's the closest to what we were trying to go for. We've clearly got a profile in mind that we want to start at DM. You can see that Caicedo and Lavia shared similar attributes. It was about how they're mobile, how they're able to, get around the pitch, make tackles, interceptions, that side of things, but they're also pretty good on the ball. Now, Doucoure has all those attributes. Are we going to overpay? Yes, because we're going to overpay for everyone. We've just spent £20 million on a Japanese DM from Stuttgart. We're going to overpay for anyone. For me, though, when I look at Czech Doucoure, I think he's the best option left on the market for us. The worry is if we decide to treat this like another Lavia situation where we go in with awful bids, we go in with insulting bids, and unlike Southampton, who had to almost entertain us, Crystal Palace don't. We go in there with a bit of a crap bid to start off with. They're just not even negotiating with us anymore. The price is going up, if anything. So we need to get this deal over the line. Endo is he's underwhelming in the sense that if you're looking at him for what we need right now, sure. But if he's going to come in and do a role that James Milner used to do, which is right back, left back, centre back, DM, centre mid, cover all those in case you need it, give you an opportunity to wrestle the players. Could you maybe find someone a little bit? Oh yeah, no, he can play everywhere. He can play everywhere across the back and the middle. So like that's like a good selling point on him. But it's still a little bit expensive. It is still a little bit expensive at this point. Obviously, this is not how the window should have went. Realistically, if Doucoure was someone that you really wanted, you would have got him in earlier. But you obviously didn't really want him at this point. He's the best of a bad bunch. But I'm also not in the ilk of trying to get a Amrabat in, who I don't believe the club sees as the long-term solution, and then kicking the can down the road till next summer, where we're in the exact same position, but we have even more positions that we need to address. I would rather go and get your third choice option in Doucoure and then trust your manager to develop him, trust your manager to get him up to that level that's required, because he's one of the best at developing young talents, and then hope that this player can cover the gap and close the gap on the talents that you originally wanted, because we cannot keep doing this thing where we kick the can down the road and leave a target until next year and leave a target until next year. Because as we saw this summer and the last summer and the summer before that, you end up having too many holes to fill at once. So if we get this DM in, all of a sudden I don't necessarily need to look at my midfield next season. You can go get this Andre fella in January, this Brazilian one who apparently we love. Go get him in for 20 million. There's your Thiago replacement when he goes in next summer. And then you don't need to touch your midfield again. You can focus on your defence and you can focus on your salary replacements. But if we don't get Doucoure in, A, there's no guarantee that a better suited DM is on the market next summer, which is always a worry. And B, there's no guarantee that we actually address all the problems again. So like you were saying, the problems that occurred at United in recent years start occurring more often at us, where you keep having these problem areas that are never filled, that you just keep patching over with makeshift, make-do signings. And that isn't going to work with us because we don't spend enough money to keep refreshing those makeshift, make-do signings.
How confident are you that you actually get Doucoure? Because in the back of my mind, I've got a feeling that Liverpool are going to cheapen out and probably go for an Amrabat now, in all honesty. How confident do you feel that you'll go for Doucoure?
I'm quite confident on ruling out Amrabat. I think if we wanted Amrabat, he would have been above Doucoure, and I think we would have went for him earlier. Doucoure is just, are we going to actually spend the money? Are the people who are in charge of the transfer at this football club going to go, we don't have the time, we don't have a good track record this window of negotiating, we just have to pay what they're asking for? 70 million is expensive, but you're in this mess because you refuse to spend before. You're in this mess because you tried to cheap out before. The only way to get out of a mess, which is caused by money, is to spend money to fix your mistakes. That's what they're going to have to do, whether they like it or not.
And that's a massive position in your team.
Yeah, you'd be better at the end of the day, though. You'd be better off spending your money on a 23-year-old who's had a decent track record across the past 2 seasons. You're overpaying on him, but at least there's the potential that he can develop into a player who's actually worth that, rather than what we've had in the past, where you just go and panic and throw money at someone who's not going to work. We need Doucoure more than anything, really, because I don't want us. I think there's a real opportunity now for us to have a midfield that develops together for the next 5 years. In McAllister, Szoboszlai, Doucoure, Trent. You get all them in the same age profile. They can stick together for the next 5 years.
I want to ask you a question, Tom, please. If Doucoure spent 70 million, where does that take you this season and the next season? Or you get Amrabat for 25 million, and then you keep the rest, and then you go for a higher caliber player next season. Which position would Liverpool be better in?
Ultimately, based on the track record of this football club spending the money now, because if we buy Amrabat,
you don't trust.
No, well, we just wouldn't buy a DM the next summer, and we'll be back at square one. So
I don't blame you.
Spending the money on the court.
Oh my god, it's traumatized the kids, bro. They traumatized the kids, bro.
We'll sell Amrabat to Saudi watchers.
Look, do you know what? I said this yesterday about Liverpool, and I don't mean it in a disrespectful way. I'm from a working class background, grew up very, very poor. But this is a club who the excuses they give for not spending is that there's a cost of living crisis or a recession, or that doesn't apply to businesses like Liverpool Football Club or billionaires. I want to make sure all the working class people that watch football understand that billionaires are basically recession proof. That they are recession proof people because they've got more money than they'll ever need in their lives. It's a nonsense. I agree with you. If you don't spend it now, they'll find a way of not spending it and spinning you a yarn that you don't need to. They really will.
We've got the yarn that we can spin already. Did you not see the news today that the company that are building our new stand have went into administration? So they're gonna have to spend the transfer budget for the rest of the season on getting a new company in to finish the stand.
Yeah, we sent them money and the money's in a black hole now and we can't get it out. So we've had to listen. I would not be surprised by your owners if they did that. The question I do have for you though is, when you were linked to Doucoure 4 or 5 weeks ago, there was outrage. No way, nowhere near good enough. Too much money from a lot of Liverpool fans. Now that your 2 main targets said no, suddenly I'm hearing how good Doucoure is. I'm hearing he's brilliant, he's amazing, it would work for this reason and that reason. I mean, when you first got linked to him, I saw Liverpool fans going, what? The guy from Everton. So a lot of you didn't even know exactly what Doucoure you were being linked to. And that for me is a question I've got for you. Is there a lot of, we used to call it copium, but we're now calling it, is there a lot of copium going on here where you guys are just clutching at straws to be happy with a situation you're actually fuming at?
Me personally, I liked Doucoure. I was one of the ones who, when he got linked like last month, I thought that's a decent one. I think if him and Lavia went for a similar price, that would be that they're at a similar level already. But Lavia's got more potential. Ultimately, right now you're seeing the fans who had committed everything on Lavia now trying to backtrack and see the positives of the situation, and it's not gonna work for them. The reason why they got angry when Doucoure was linked was because they didn't watch Crystal Palace and they didn't know about him. When you actually done your research on him, it's funny because the one that our fan base
in 3 weeks they've watched like 30 odd.
Oh no. In 3 weeks, all the other options have gone, so we're now left with just Doucoure, and now they're going back and seeing what everyone else said and went, "Oh, that's all right, that could work." Ultimately, the thing that I kept saying at the time was when he was in France, all the French journalists kept comparing him to Tchouaméni, and we apparently have this weird obsession of rejection from Tchouaméni. So surely what we could do then is go and get someone who is apparently close to him and stop this rejection train. But no, because he played for Crystal Palace, and even though he won Player of the Year, Gallagher won that. So it's not a good measure of quality. So ultimately, they're backtracking now. They've got egg on the face. Check Doucoure be a good option.
That mate, it's a bit weird, isn't it? It's you're so painted with Tchouaméni. You're off, like, just find someone that's just like him. If a man does that, if a man breaks up with his girlfriend, she breaks his heart, and then you see him a month later with a new woman, and she's like same body type, hair color, dress sense. There's a mental health issue going on there. You need to help your brother in that position and say, my G, like, what is this? I had a friend that did that once. Legitimately, he brought another girl out about 2 months after breaking up with his missus. We didn't really see him, and we had to double take. Because we thought it was her. And I was like, bro, that ain't well, mate. Because you're obviously like envisioning that it's her. It's crazy.
Obviously, we've done that. Did you not see the fact that after we got rejected by Lavia, we chucked in another inquiry for Tchouaméni? Like he's all of a sudden going to have a change of heart after 2 years.
Jason here says, Tom literally explains what FFG keep doing wrong and then supports spending 70 million on Doucoure. Make it make sense.
What FSG do wrong is underfund the actual signings. What FSG do wrong is not fund at all. This situation is fixing the problem. It's not the ideal fix, but it's fixing the problem. What FSG do is gone, no, we don't need to buy a DM. You've got Stefan Bajcetic. We'll get Arthur on loan. That's what FSG do. They leave it to stew and become an even bigger problem. This is putting a bandage. This is putting a plaster over it when you need a bandage. I need something better, but maybe it could be a fix if we're lucky. What FSG do is go, oh, you cut. Well, all right. You got skin. It'll heal together in time. It's not going to work.
I hear you there. I mean, does anyone rate this deal? Does anybody think it's a good thing for Liverpool, or is this just throwing good money after bad? What are you saying, Mo? You're sitting there. You want to say something on it?
Listen, it's just like this guy, Doucoure, got the Player of the Year, and Tom explained it. It's not a measuring like stick to just say that he got the Player of the Year. But if Lavia is 60 million, I think Doucoure fair enough 70 million. The reason why I'm saying that, people rate Lavia here and there. How old is Doucoure? He's 22, if I'm not mistaken. Lavia is 19. So Lavia is 19. So I think actually, in my opinion, the risk of Lavia is more than Doucoure. 70 million is a lot. Yes, it's 10 million extra. But if you're offering me Doucoure for 60 and Lavia for 60, I would take Doucoure, to be honest. There's less risk there. I think Doucoure has more experience in the Premier League. And I think I think at the moment, as of now, he's the better player. Lavia might have bigger potential, yeah. But Liverpool needs someone to fix the midfield today. And maybe Doucoure, I get what Tom is saying. If they're going to spend the money now, I think this is the option they have now. If Tchouaméni is not here, if Kimmich is not here, it's not bad. It's not that bad. It's not all doom and gloom for Liverpool if they get. But 70 million is a lot of money, but it is what it is. 150 million is a lot of money for Caicedo. 105 million is a lot of money for Rice. But we have to stop saying a lot of money, because if all of them are a lot of money, that means it's not a lot of money. It's just the prices. It's the price of meat. It's the price of milk at the moment. This is it.
The thing for me is, I don't want you to go for Amrabat, but I think Amrabat is a far superior football player. and he's available for £25 million. So for me, 70 million, he might end up being worth it, but that leaves us clear to get Amrabat. I feel like Man United are laughing all the way to the bank. We're getting, for me, a more superior player, an older player who is going to elevate us for a lot less money. And the fact that you could get Gravenberch and Amrabat for the same price as Doucoure, I think it's good business, but there's better options out there.
Don't you think, Terry?
We need different things. I think our sides need different things. What we need is someone who is. I think for your DM, you're going to need someone who's actually quite comfortable on the ball because they're on their own. They're sitting at the base of a pivot, so you need someone who's comfortable with the ball. For us, if the system is supposed to work how it's supposed to, I don't need someone who's comfortable on the ball necessarily. I just need someone who can tackle, intercept, bully people, and then give the ball to Trent as quick as possible, which Doucoure excels at. I think Amrabat is more of an all-round type, which would be better if we were in an older system where Trent was more of a right-back than this inverted role. So I can see why in years gone by, Amrabat would have been better for us. But now I think that the profile of a Doucoure is more so what we need. But it is still expensive at 70. I'm not going to lie. When Amrabat is available for 30, 70 million for Doucoure does look expensive. But ultimately, we've got.
But Amrabat for 25 makes everybody expensive. It doesn't matter what it is.
The reason they're not going in for Amrabat is because they're afraid of getting egg on their face again. They don't want to get rejected by another player. Let's be real here. Amrabat's already been tapped up by Man United. I think he's already preferring the Man United move. Liverpool don't want to go into that transfer and then get another player reject to Liverpool. Like, let's be real.
But Jules,
this transfer window has put some stains on their club that it's going to be looking dirty for a while. And now everyone knows, like when they were doing the Lavia deal, everyone thought Liverpool ain't got money, FSG not got money. And then they went 115 million for Caicedo. Everyone knows FSG's got money now. So you guys are going to be paying the premium price for any player that you go in. And now
the thing is, Jules, I get what you're saying. Yeah, like I do think that Amrabat wants to move to Man United, but with them, they've got no control until they get rid of players. I don't think they're gonna bring in Amrabat without getting rid first. Like Staffy's already said, Terry sort of mentioned it as well. A lot of United fans that you're speaking to are frustrated right now because they can't get rid of Donny, they can't get rid of Scott. You know, it's a problem there. So Liverpool, they could go in and get an Amrabat right now because they're lacking midfielders. They're lacking the CDM. So if they really want to, they can go in.
Just signed Endo, mate. Japanese national team captain.
You've signed Endo, but we've always said you need two.
He's a Champions League winner as well. Everyone's forgetting about Endo. He won the Champions League.
How old is he?
You need Asia, but he won the Champions League. He's 30. 30.
Liverpool got a thing for these like, old men. Like, why are they signing a 30-year-old DM? Let's be real. The reason I'm going to say this, they just got rid of the likes of Fabinho, Henderson, and Milner because they were players that were aging and they were aging the squad. They're now signing another player. Let's be real. I don't feel like he's going to take Liverpool to the next level. He's not a player that's going to be starting in this squad, in this midfield. He shouldn't be a starting player because you're still looking at other options. So you're bringing in a 30-year-old that isn't going to excel your team for the next few years. It's just a bad move all round.
Do you guys want honesty? Do you guys want honesty about Endo? To be honest, if Nottingham Forest signed Endo for 50 million, we would have questioned the signing. This is the reality. This is the reality that nobody. Listen, Tom,
we've signed him for 20
be
million,
honest about it.
We signed him for 20 million, so he's boss. He won the Champions League.
I am serious, guys.
He scored the goal that kept Stuttgart up.
Wait, it's funny. It's funny, guys.
It's funny, but it's real. Stuttgart.
No, it's funny. Relegation, right? When we talk about Harry Kane, he's old. He's 30 years old. He's 29, just turned 30. He's old. But now Endo, he's not old. He's an old player. You don't really sign a 30-year-old player into your squad to take your squad to the next level.
This is one of the worst signings since Ricky Lambert signed for Liverpool in 2011-12.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I promise you it isn't that bad.
Do you not remember Ricky Lambert?
Probably Tom, no banter. You're not that old to know how bad that signing was.
Oh, no, I know how. We replaced 31 goal, 12 assists Luis Suarez with £4 million Ricky Lambert because he was a Scouser. That was why. I know how bad that signing
be honest,
was.
like I'm gonna be honest here. If Endo works for Liverpool, it's a surprise, right? Like there are no signs that this guy can come in from a relegation battle Stuttgart last year to play for Liverpool Football Club, who are supposed to have one DM to challenge for the title again. Come on, just let's be real here.
It comes down to what role he's going to play. If he's coming into
again.
starting DM for us, then there's real problems. But if he's coming in to do what James Normal done for us, which is one game you'll do right back, one game you'll do centre back, one game you'll do DM, that's fine. It's if we're going to the Etihad and going, right, Endo makes it down. See KDB. Mark him off the game.
Tom, you had Milner. Tom, you had Milner. You're comparing Milner with the experience that Milner had. Sorry. You're comparing Milner with the experience he has with the Champions League and playing for Man City and doing all of this and that to Endo. Probably you had no idea what this guy's about just 2 days ago. You didn't hear about him. Yeah, you only know him from the World Cup playing for Japan.
Mo, just out of interest, how much of Endo have you watched, Mo?
None.
Who won this panel?
You've got a very strong opinion for someone who hasn't watched him.
Yes,
I hear what you're saying, bro.
I am not gonna see the thing about it. I'm not gonna sit here and lie and tell you I watched him. That's the problem. I haven't heard of the guy. Nobody mentioned Lima. People mention his name. That's why I went to Bayern Munich. Like there are other players, but this guy is a no one. Liverpool Football Club. I get what you're saying. You have this thing done when you say, I gotta wait until I see. I'm gonna tell you, if it works, I'm gonna clap and say, applaud them and say, great scouting, 30 years old youngster joining your club. Amazing. You know what I mean? But otherwise, it's doom. Like for this guy, this is a terrible signing.
Do you know the issue is though?
Underwhelming. It is underwhelming. It is underwhelming.
Super underwhelming.
Again, though, it comes down to expectations of his role. He's underwhelming if he's our starting DM massively, but if he's coming in to just be utility man, because right now as it stands, we have no Trent backup, we are short on centre backs, and we are still short on DMs because Bajcetic is still injured. If he's coming in to do how we normally do depth, which is one man does 3 positions, and then when one man goes down, your depth is dead. It's not a good way, but it is our way. If he's coming in to do that, that is fine. If he's doing one game at centre back, if he's doing one game at inverted right back, that's fine. It's if he's coming in to start week in, week out. But the funny thing I've seen, obviously I've never watched Endo, but the idea that he's crap because he was part of a relegation side, why is Lavy the best thing ever when he actually got relegated? At least Endo didn't.
I said that many times, but people slander me and say he's a City youngster. I said,
do you know what I really like about signings like Endo? Because I don't pretend to, but when they get signed, is people go, who? These are the same football hipsters that tell us they watch the Bundesliga and Serie A and the French leagues week in, week out. No, you watch the highlights or check the results of the big teams. You might tune in to watch Dortmund versus Bayern. You might tune into the Milan derby. You might tune into a big PSG game if they're in a title race. But you don't watch most of you don't watch the league. Otherwise, you'd know who he is because you'd watch Stuttgart play and then you'd know who he is. Like if you were signing a Premier League player from a lower level team, we'd know who he is because we all watch the Premier League. Like you watch games from those leagues. You don't watch those leagues. The only guy I know that really does that genuinely is Strasbourg Steve, who tunes in. This kid's got about 37 TV screens in his bedroom and legit sits there watching all games. He's like fucking Rayman. He watches all these games at once and he absorbs all the knowledge. I don't even know how a man does it. Big up Steve for doing that. Outside of him, these men are out here lying. I mean, I don't watch that much stuff. I've got some super chats to do here. First one says, I find it strange why Ten Hag buys so many ex-players. Pep and Klopp, is that a talent ID issue? I think he means compared to Pep and Klopp. Liverpool are in trouble if we don't get a top centre-back. Does Ten Hag have a talent ID problem because he targets ex-players?
No.
Probably he doesn't have a talent ID. That's why he targets his ex-players.
It's becoming frequent. It's becoming frequent.
I brought this up last season when he first came in. There's probably a clip about it somewhere, but if you're bringing in players from that you used to manage, it doesn't represent that you've got a good talent ID. And a lot of people are out here saying, oh, he's doing this, he's doing that. I haven't really seen Ten Hag at the moment for Manchester United bring in young players or like young and up-and-coming talents and then take them to the next level. Hopefully, we could potentially see this with Højlund. If we see that go somewhere, then maybe then. But I don't feel like Ten Hag's flexed his talent ID at all since he's been at Man United. And
you don't believe in Anthony? That he's going to take him to the next level?
Hang on a minute, though. I just want to say this.
Are you serious with Anthony? Are you being serious?
I'm asking you a question, bro.
I'm going to put this out there to you. So since he's been at Man United, he's in terms of permanent signings, not loans. He made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and only Onana, Anthony, and Lissandro Martinez. So 3 of 9 have played for him.
Thank you there.
And yeah, but he wanted Mount. He wanted Mount when he was at when Mount was at.
That doesn't mean
he didn't manage him before. So he wanted. So the players he signed: Højlund, Mount. I've not included Johnny Evans, who signed on a free. He's not really going to play for us. I'm not including that, right? Casemiro didn't play for him before. Malacia didn't play for him before. Dubravka didn't play for him before. Well, you can Ericsson was at Ajax, but didn't get managed by the manager.
No, he didn't.
But let's be real. Eric,
that was before his time.
Casemiro are established players. You don't need to have talent ID to establish that those.
So now we're switching the goal. We're shifting the goal.
No, that's not switching. That's not switching no talent. If you look at Ericsson, and you look at Casemiro, you know what they're bringing to the team. When you bring in a youngster like Højlund or you bring in a player like Mount, you'll see. Let's see if he can take these players to the next level. Because at the moment, with all the players that he's brought in, barring Lissandro Martinez, I'll say he's the one that's really succeeded. Let's be real, Anthony, and then who was the other one that he brought in? They haven't
Mason Mount.
Stuffy. George was clear. He said George was
Mm.
clear. He said, I haven't seen yet Ten Hag bring a youngster and take him to the next level.
Why was he supposed to get youngsters in his first year?
Listen, if I go sign tomorrow, if Man United tomorrow go sign Courtois or sign Vinny Jr., that's not talent ID. These are established players. That's the difference.
So let me just get this straight, because I like clarity. So talent ID isn't about signing a Casemiro. It's about signing a young player that we don't really know yet, who develops into being a top player.
That's what I think a talent ID is, in my opinion.
In my opinion, yeah, I do think that it's not assigning an established player, which you know they're going to bring to your team.
I don't think that's
especially when it's the elite players, like Casemiro is an elite player. You know what he's going to bring.
So can I ask you a question?
You know what you're going to get with him, yeah.
Hang on, guys. Hang on. I want to ask a question. So if Maddison balls out for Tottenham, that doesn't go down as talent ID for your new manager? Because
I don't believe so.
And I'm not trying to catch you out. I'm just trying to understand, because, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but I guarantee you, if you sat down 15 people and got them to define what talent ID means, you get 15 different answers. And the problem, and I don't mind what other platforms do, but I want to be fair on the Top 6 show. We're stating, and I'm happy to accept that as talent ID. It's your IDing of young, sort of fairly undiscovered raw talent and turning them into stars. I'm very happy for that to be the definition, because based on that, he's bought Anthony, who's fairly young, that he played for him before, and he's bought Højlund. So he's bought 2 players so far. So let's see in 2 or 3 years how they work. So we're basically judging him on 2 players that he's bought. So hang on. So based on what you've said, how can we look at we can't judge his talent ID and say it's bad if he's only signed 2 players that even fit your profile.
Malacia also fits the profile.
Well, Malacia was an £8 million backup signing that came into the club. But let's see how he develops.
When he came in, he was brought in. Go on.
He was brought in as backup in that left back position, and that's exactly what he's done. Luke Shaw is our number 1 left back. We haven't brought Malacia in to replace Luke Shaw. He's a backup. However, let's throw that in and say 3 players, and I'm absolutely fine with that. But he's had a year at the club so far, and in year 1, using those players, progressed up into 3rd in the league and won a trophy. I want much more from Anthony, but we'll say that he's got bad talent ID based on all these players he's bought. Then, based on the definition of what talent ID is, we're basing it on 3 players, one of which hasn't kicked the ball for us yet. So we are basing it on 2 players.
Oh, wait.
That's weird to me.
First of all, sorry. I never said he had bad talent ID. You said, did he have good talent ID? I said, no. It doesn't mean his talent ID is bad.
Okay, if it's not good, what is it then? What is it then?
Jules, you don't rate it. I think Jules don't rate it.
If you're gonna rate managers and you're gonna put the top managers that have good talent ID, I wouldn't mention Ten Hag. That's
okay.
I agree.
Wait, Terry, let me clarify.
I want to clarify. So he hasn't got brilliant ID, talent ID. He's not got good talent ID. What comes below? What is he then?
Wait, can I just clarify? I'm being consistent in saying that when he's average, like it's saying, when he was at Ajax, he brought through players, a lot of them through the Ajax academy that we all know is an amazing academy. I don't believe that he went out there and scouted a lot of players, which he did. He brought in players like Anthony, who again, I don't feel like excelled. I don't expect him to do any good in the Premier League.
Wait, Anthony Lisandro, the Mexican
And
midfielder. What's his name? I always forget his name.
It's
He brought in Tadic from
players,
Southampton, and he made him bag in the Champions League. He brought in Sebastian Haller from West Ham, and he made him the second highest goal scorer in the Champions League that season. And everyone was praising him, but he comes to United and he tries to build a spine his first year. Doesn't go for youngsters because it's not time for youngsters when it's your first year. You got to build a spine. And all of a sudden, we're being questioned, why doesn't he recruit young players? Because it's talent ID.
Roms here says, I think talent ID is recognizing a player that has the attributes that can benefit your team, regardless of their profile or age.
Perfect, Roms. Thank you.
I think
I agree with him.
I look at talent ID. I don't think talent ID includes are you able to develop them, because I don't think that's part of identifying a talent. That is how good you are as a manager at developing. I could identify who's good, not a chance I could develop them. But talent ID, I think, comes down to, are you able to have a set number of parameters you need to find and find the best option for that within a certain age range, within a certain limited factor of it. That's what.
But Tom, does it not need to be applied? Your talent ID needs to be applied into the game. So yes, the players need to develop and they need to show that they are good for the team.
But then I would then say,
good. Wait, how's your just like you can say, oh yeah, Pochettino's talent ID is good because he brought in a player like Endo, who's a good player, but it doesn't apply it on the pitch because as good as he is, he's never going to work out for any team. He's a good player, but that doesn't make your talent ID good. That like it needs to be application. So when you're saying, oh, he can identify a player that's good, but it doesn't necessarily need to develop.
George, who would you say?
Then I would just simply ask, what is the point of the director of football? If the manager's the one identifying the talents, if the manager's the one buying the talents, why the football clubs have a director of football? Ultimately, I believe that the manager can say who they would want, but it's down to the director of football, and you can't judge a director of football by how well the player develops because that is out of their control. So for me, talent ID is how good you are at identifying someone to fit certain parameters.
I get what you guys are saying. Just in interest of time here, I just want to move on to some more of these super chats. This says from Colton that says no penny pinching in the Prem, prices won't go down. It's I agree with that. They're definitely not going down.
Tell you that.
The FA consider replacing Southgate with I always pronounce her name wrong. It's Wenger, the ladies coach. Yeah, the Lionesses coach. I said earlier, just very quick thought on this. I'm up for it. Generally in my life, two of my best coaches in kickboxing and my two best bosses in my career have all been women. The only people that wouldn't take instruction from a woman need to take a long, hard look at themselves in the mirror. It says a lot about you as a person. This here says, who heard of Amrabat before the World Cup? Only Amrabat I knew played for Watford. A lot of people didn't know who he was because I remember the comments during the World Cup. Tyler Adams can play at CDM and at right back. Better value for money is what Trini Guna has got to say here.
He will be injured by Christmas.
I agree. I absolutely agree with that.
No, but then again, Mo, you've got to look at the issues that have plagued us across the past 3 years. Our midfield, we had numbers, but they were always in the medical room. This Endo fella hasn't missed a game through injury in the past 3 years. I
hear that. Donny also says here, the fella that is linked with, Pavard hasn't played. Yeah, we're looking at Pavard, he hasn't played for us. There's another defender we're looking at as well. Is it Todibo? He ain't played for the manager either. So there's a lot of players that we're linked to or we'd like to. I mean, he wanted Harry Kane as well, and I don't remember Harry Kane playing for Ajax. I don't think.
I've just said that so far he hasn't proved it wrong. I'm not saying that he won't do that.
Yeah,
in the future. I don't think he's going to keep going back to Ajax for players.
The original argument, guys, was that he doesn't sign players that. The original argument was that he doesn't sign players that haven't played with him, played for him. And then when Terry named 3 out of 9, we switched it to talent.
We did this to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer when he only wants to sign English players, and that stuck for 3.5 years. And I'm not defending Ole; he failed in the end. But 74% of his signings were non-British. But there was this weird thing that he only wanted to sign British players. Some things get said and then they just stick with no grounding. Never felt so calm. We'll come to the Arsenal stuff in a minute. Developing isn't always buying Saka and Martinelli. No, I agree with that. I think
this is a very good point, actually.
Talent. I think he means talent ID is Arteta getting Ramsdale, White, Tomiyasu, and Odegaard.
Yeah, but how many other players also failed?
Absolutely. The Odegaard thing is one of the best examples. You get someone that Real Madrid are willing to let him go, and you get him cheap, and you develop that guy to be a world-class player.
The Odegaard deal was...
let me use another example, and this one has nothing to do with buying. This is actually with academy players. The next one up in this team for a couple of years was Zidane Iqbal, and a lot of people were shocked that he sold him. And then, because I speak from a lot of people from Manchester, they were upset that we got sold. But he was being sold. First of all, he sold him to Utrecht, a club that he has good relations with, because he wanted to promote Kopiuming instead. Kopiuming did not play for this team last season. Zidane was always there with the team. He was training with the team. He actually made his debut in the Champions League under Ralf Rangnick. So he was the next one upcoming for a while. And then he got sold, and a lot of people were disappointed. But then we found out is because he actually identified another academy player that he thought was more worth it, had better talent, and he'd rather give him the minutes this season over another player. So can we use that as a talent ID thing? Because yes, you didn't buy him, but you chose him over another player that was kind of ahead of him in the ranks.
I think you can if he turns out to be a good enough player.
Obviously, he's not playing now.
In terms of who's he improved since he's been at the club, I'm just going to say Marcus Rashford, and we'll move on to the next subject. Who banged in 30 odd goals last year from a wide position. Moving on to Chelsea, it's been a mad week. If you're a Chelsea fan, there's been some amazing highs, and then in the last few hours, I suppose, the situation with Elise. Again, the second time in a week that David Ornstein has put out information where he's basically said it's going to happen, it's over the line, it's all done. And within 12 hours, it's gone the completely opposite way. Now, that's not on David Ornstein. That's on the fast nature of transfers. It's why I personally love them. But Elise's done a new deal. We all know why. It's because there was accusations of tapping up. And the fact that what's your take on it, Don? Because you've been accused of tapping up and then you lost out on that player. Reminds me a little bit of the situation with Liverpool, Southampton, Van Dijk. That ended up being a January move. What do you think's happened there? And do you still think you'll get the player in the future?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I was surprised. I was out and about actually when I saw that news drop that Elise signed a new contract. I checked my phone. I saw just send a message in the group. I was like, well, what's going on here? I've clicked on it. I'm seeing him smiling, signing a contract. I'm thinking, wait, what's happened here? Because there was a few rumors. There was a few rumors before that. They were planning to report us for, of course, like you said, tapping him up. But I just didn't know how true it was and if they were actually going to do it. But with the whole Lewis Hall situation that fell through, looks like he's going to go Newcastle as well. It looks like the relationship between Palace and Chelsea is completely broken down. So Elise was happy coming to the club, but obviously the club have been scared. Basically, they've been scared off and said, you know what, it's not even worth the egg. Let's just go and hopefully get someone else. So right now, as it stands, we're linked to a guy called Barcola. I've never watched him before, to be honest with you, but last season he got 5 goals and 8 assists in 15 starts. And I was speaking to one of my friends earlier. He watches a lot of League On, and he was saying, he's a Chelsea fan as well. He was saying, listen, this guy is serious. Like when it comes to end product, he creates a lot of chances. Lacazette was getting a lot of goals from him last season. He creates a lot of chances, really good on the ball, really direct as well. But obviously Elise is better than him right now as it stands for me, because he's Premier League proven. You can't buy Premier League experience if you've never played in the Prem before. So that's the only annoying part, the fact that I wanted a little bit more Premier League experience. But again, it's not the end of the world. There's a few more alternatives there. We could go back in for Kudus if that doesn't happen with West Ham. And again, if Barcola signs, listen, I'm going to see what he can do, because so far the talent ID, we're talking about talent ID, the scouting that's been done at Chelsea so far, I've been really impressed with it since the new guys came in. So we'll see what happens there, innit? But with Elise, I'm disappointed because I wanted him. I really like him as a player, but it's a shame. It's a shame.
What about the links from Steinberg that you could be going in for Brennan Johnson from Nottingham Forest as an alternative?
Oh, listen. The only person that I would take from Nottingham Forest is Morgan Gibbs-White. I think he's slept on. I really like him. I think he's really creative. Works really hard off the ball as well. I think he'd fit like a glove in our team, to be honest. But yeah, man, when it comes to what's his name, Brennan Johnson, for me, he's quick. He's young, but I think he needs a lot of coaching. He's not clutch. I know he had a good end to last season, but for me, he's just underwhelming. He's underwhelming. I don't know what they've seen in him to want to bid 50 million for him. So yeah, I'm not for the signing. I mean, if he comes in, listen. If he does well, I would like to be proven wrong. But for me, the only player I would take from him is Morgan Gibbs-White. I'm not interested in Johnson.
To be fair, what did you expect from Johnson last season? I mean, he ended the season with 8 goals and 3 assists, and that Nottingham Forest side really didn't kick into gear until the second half of the season.
He played 38 games though.
I thought
a majority of their games.
I thought
he played a lot of games, so I feel like I'm not gonna say it's bad for a young player, but let's be real. For even when my club looked at him and Chelsea looking for 50 million, you're having a laugh. The player's done nothing to prove that he's worth 50 million.
And no, especially after you did what you did with Richarlison, you wouldn't want to do it again. I agree.
No, 100%. You learn from your past. Like, we're not going to sit here and act like Richarlison's been a good signing. He hasn't. And right now, that's the reason why we're not spending a lot of money on players, because we don't want to go gung-ho on another player and for it to go bad, because our 2 highest signings in Richarlison and Endo have been 2 of our worst players.
Every time I'm watching this guy Johnson, is all over the place, bro. Like
all over.
Like he's a very chaotic player. Look at the miss he missed against Arsenal. How can you miss the target by like 10 yards? Like this is like what are we talking about here? Playing for Chelsea Football Club when you got Nkunku and you want to move to the next level, 50 million for Johnson, man. Just give me a break, bro.
Yeah,
I thought it was like
I called it last year. I said he's a championship player at best at the current moment. 50 million for him. That's a lot.
I haven't seen enough for me to say like this is the guy that I think is gonna reach that level. Do you get it? I think he's good enough to play in the Prem, in all honesty, but I just don't think he's Chelsea level. Like, he needs a lot of coaching. He's still quite young. And like I said, when I look at that team, the only player that I look at and I think, you know what, I would happily give him a chance is Morgan Gibbs-White. Johnson for me, nah, man. I'm not interested.
I do agree that this is probably a step too far too early. But
yes,
I like what I've seen from him. I think that there's a lot to work with there. He's not who should be replacing Elise, because they're not the same player. And this is the part that gets me. I don't know what you wanted out of Elise, because were you after someone to be the backup to Nkunku, or were you after someone to be the starter on the right? Or so Elise is a fantastic player, but I just didn't know what the plan was.
Cole Palmer is looking for a player. Come on, Cole Palmer is looking for a player. Go get Cole Palmer for 50.
The plan for, first of all, the plan with Elise was it was mentioned before that. It was mentioned before that we could potentially play him in the 10, because we all know how creative he is. I think he can do a job in that 10 role, and he works hard off the ball as well. But at the same time, when you look at our right options, Sterling didn't have the best preseason. I know he played well against Liverpool, but we're looking more long term. If you look at it right now, everyone said Chelsea need a little bit more experience, a little bit more Prem experience. He brings that in abundance. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think he's someone that would have definitely started on the right for us, but. Again, it's a shame. It's a shame, isn't it?
Then I might be wrong, but then what I look at then is if you bring in Elise, and let's say that the Elise type signings are the way forwards for you. You bring in these youngsters who come in and help the side out. What do you do about these youngsters that you've bought that are out on loan?
Yeah,
because they come back in and there is absolutely zero first team path. Because let's say you've got a young, I don't think you do. Make that Angelo, you've got that Angelo out on loan who you bought.
Gabriel,
he comes back in next season, and all of a sudden he's going, right, I can't wait to get some minutes on the right. And then he sees Elise, Madueke, and potentially even Sterling ahead of him. He's going, what's the point here?
But that's what Chelsea's plan is, though. But that's what Chelsea's plan is. Very similar to you seen what's happening with Arsenal with Nuno Tavares. They talk about getting 30 million for him, which means they're making he hasn't worked out for them, but they're making a profit. And when Arsenal was signing some of these young players 2 to 3 years ago, I remember talking to various journalists about it. And part of Arsenal's plan was buy players that even if it doesn't quite work out, you can sell and make a profit on them. All these youngsters Chelsea are buying between 10 and 20 million pounds. The ones that don't make it, the ones that have gone out on loan that can't, there's no pathway for them back in the team, they'll be sold at a 10, 15, 20, 30 million pound profit for what they've bought them for. There is a longer term strategy financially to this for Chelsea. Look at City are doing with all the young talent they bring into their academy and how much they're then selling them on for. I think they've raised about 200 million from academy sales in the last 2.5 years, City, and that's why they can keep spending money. So for me, I just look at it again as a problem for us as rivals that they're doing this. If you buy all these young players and then loan them out, they're either going to be brilliant for you or you sell them on at a profit. It's a brilliant business model. It really is.
Right. Yeah. Terry's right when he says that. And yeah, Tom, listen, I love a world where everyone can make it at Chelsea. But unfortunately, like Terry said, some of them are going to get flipped. But the good thing is we're not just buying nobodies. We're trying to buy, young players with a lot of talent who, in a few years might be worth 50 million, 60 million. And then when they do go on loan, we can flip them for a larger amount, like Terry said. So yeah, that is it's just I guess it's business.
To me, though,
It's business,
it's not the fact that they're not gonna play. It's the fact that when you will start to set a precedent for these players when they come in. You know, I could join Chelsea, but there's a good chance that after a year out on loan, they've got 2 players ahead of my position, and then I'm on the market again. Why would I do that when I could easily just skip that step altogether and join the club? I'll inevitably end up joining once Chelsea decide to sell me on for the profit now. I feel like that could be really.
No, you're right. There's gonna be players. But let me just land George here. There's gonna be players that obviously feel like that, which is why Chelsea need to have a good balance of not bringing in too much young talent. Because what happens there, like you said, you'll start stockpiling and you'll start putting young players off. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, you know, if you're going to a club like Strasbourg or you're getting a decent loan out of it, you know, some players might say, do you know what? It's life-changing money, like Mo said. And at the same time, I'm still playing at a decent club. I'm still playing at a decent level. So some players might still want to, you know, join in on the project. But it'll be very transparent. They'll be transparent to them. And if they're good enough, like Terry said before, most of them will break through somehow if you're good enough. But it's part of the model. It is part of the model. Todd Bowley said this from the beginning that they're not all going to make it. Do you know what I mean? But the plan is to flip them for a huge profit. That's what the plan is. So we're not going to stockpile and just keep these guys. If they're not going to make it at Chelsea, we're going to sell them. We're going to sell them on.
Players trafficking. That's what we're talking about.
Anything to bring the money. Anything to keep the money coming in.
Players trafficking.
But the problem is, though, with all of that, is that, again, though, you still have a very bloated squad and you don't have a lot of games to play, especially this season. So you guys are bringing in a lot of players, especially for these forward positions, and you're not playing European football. So you're going to be playing 1 game a week for the majority of the season. So there's not a lot of game time to go out. And so you're still going to have far too many players. And then none of these players, you're going to be chopping and changing. None of them are going to have a long enough run in the team to build up like that match fitness and just be, you know, have that sharpness to play week in, week out. So you're going to still have problems like developing these players regardless. Personally,
we'll have to see how.
I personally think Elise staying at Crystal Palace is a much better move for his career. He's only 21 years old. He can make this move.
To Chelsea.
He would have started.
Come on. Let's be real. He's 21 years old. He can make this move to a big club next season or a season after, and he's still going to be going for 50 or 60 million. He's like Crystal Palace.
He's the main man there next year as well.
He's going to start at Chelsea.
Wait, now the plan for him to make big wage, George. It's a plan for him to make big wage now.
No, the thing is sometimes that especially these young players what they go wrong in their careers, they take this big move too early. Especially at 21 years old, you're going to go to Chelsea with a bloated squad and a team that hasn't established even a style. Like Pochettino's
wait, what?
Why is he going to go there? No, let's be real. Why is he going to go to a team that has 5 or 6 different players in his position when he can take the ropes of this Crystal Palace team that Zaha has now left? He's going to be now their main attacking outlet. And still, better yet, he's 21 years old. He can make this move to Chelsea in 2-3 years, still sign one of those 6 or 7, 8 year contracts and be tied down until he's 30 years old. It's like he's not in a bad position at all. This works out for his career. It's a much better move.
I get what you're saying, George, but in all honesty, I think Olise would have started for us. Do you know what I'm saying? Like right now, Raheem Sterling, he's treading on thin ice because again, he had a good game against Liverpool, but he's not someone that I don't see Poch dropping eventually. And if you bring in quality like Olise, like I said, you can play him in the cam right now. If Nkuku's injured right now, and like I said, you can play him on the right. As it stands, he's better than Madueke. He's more Premier League proven than Madueke, more polished than Madueke. I really like Madueke, but Olise, for me, he would have definitely started. And right now, he's not coming into a team full of established players. Like everyone knows, Chelsea's full of a lot of young players. And even the other day, like Poch, he played Mudryk on the right.
But that's the point, Don. There's far too many players that they need to establish themselves, but there's not enough game time to go around. It's different if you had Europa League football or Conference League football where you can go, all right, on Thursday we're going to try you out, and then on Sunday we're going to try you out. So then they can both build up and they can get the time to play. You don't have minutes to give out.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but if you look at Olise, right, in comparison to, like I said, if you look at him in comparison to Madueke and you look at him in comparison to Raheem Sterling, who right now looks like his trajectory is going downwards, he's looking at it like, listen, as it stands right now, I can get into that 11. Because he's young, but he's got Premier League experience. And bro, that is key. He would definitely.
I think Elise needs to stay at Palace for a reason. I think Elise needs to stay. I think last year Elise took a real big jump in his game because the mentality side of him shifted. I saw him last year putting in a lot more effort on a defensive end. He looked to be a lot more of a team player last year. He was getting involved in a lot more of the link-up. he was sacrificing maybe some of the parts of his game that we saw at Reading, where he was an individual sort of dynamo to suit what needed the team more. And I think that as a player, he needs to stick with that development for the next year, where he now becomes the main man, but he still has to keep the same things in his head. Whereas if he goes to Chelsea, from Crystal Palace, it's now a completely different environment. I think if he has a year where he's the main man at Palace, where he's still, learning the same things, pushing on that same type of development, he joins Chelsea in a much better state to be a consistent, regular starter and have the mentality that if it doesn't go right straight away, he can survive that initial wobble. I just think another year outside of it is the best thing.
It's certainly interesting. Viewers, I'd love to get your opinions on this in the comment section right now. I want to go to a few super chats here. First one says, Chelsea's Brazilian signings out on loan are to sell next year to balance the books for FFP and the long amortization contracts. I don't think there's a lot to be said about that. Arsenal fan here, Chelsea moving like a big club, Elise in January. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he moves in January. There's a buyout clause in this new contract as well, we've all read. Protect the boy from Chelsea, say no to trafficking. Is what's been said there, Jesus. Thank you for this super chat. You didn't say anything, S-Keys TV, but thank you very, very much indeed. Nikhil, thank you for becoming a member of the Football Terrace. It means a great deal to us. After, I think it means 1 billion Chelsea have spent, La Liga have spent 894 million. Yeah, Chelsea are spending big. The Premier League is spending big. But I did want to bring something up that's obviously not good news for Chelsea today. It's another hamstring injury for Reece James. I want to throw this out to the rivals first, because I get that you're going to defend your boy. Is Reece James at risk of physically being broken and regressing from this point? This is what his third or fourth hamstring injury. We've seen Michael Owens. We've seen Fernando Torres's, whose hamstrings kept going. Is he at risk, Staffy, of never fulfilling his full potential because his body's letting him down?
I think he's finished. Sorry to say that, Don. It's going to disappoint you.
Extreme.
Listen, Mo, it is what it is. I'm here to speak my opinion, and I've been waiting. I don't want to say I've been waiting, because that's not nice. I'm not waiting for him to get injured, but I was waiting to see if he gets injured again early to make that assessment, because he's been out for a while, and there's historically a lot of players in many sports, not just football, that were amazing at some point, but when they picked up too many injuries in such a short time early in their careers and they really haven't changed anything, they just never came back to be the same. And I hear stories from a lot of players that eventually when they retired, they're like, it was late when I realized that I should have changed my diet. I should have changed my routine. I start doing agility training. I start doing yoga. I start doing this, start doing that. And this is what I'm thinking of when I'm thinking about James. I don't know. Obviously, I don't work for Chelsea. I'm not a medical expert. I don't work for the medical team for Chelsea. But there is something clearly wrong with him, because the guy, every time he comes back, his hamstring is just made out of spaghetti. Like, I don't understand what is wrong with him. And every time he comes back, he looks a little bit stiffer and a little bit heavier. Now, how old is he right now, Don? Is he 24?
He's 23.
23. He's so young for the amount of injuries that he's picked up, and they're all hamstring injuries. I don't think his body is just like, he doesn't have an average body where like he just heals like every other athlete. You know what I mean? These injuries are too much. I don't think.
Can I just interject for a minute to give some clarity to this? I'm really sorry, Staffy. I want to go back to you.
Yeah.
Since the 1920 season, so we're going into, this is the start of his fourth year. This is now his 17th injury in that time. 4 of them have been hamstrings, 2 of them knee injuries, and then I think 3 ankle injuries, and then 3 which they've just written down as muscular injuries. So to have 17 injuries at 23 years of age, 4 times your hamstring's gone, and this one could be a long one if it's the same one again. To have 3 knee injuries, 4 hamstring injuries, 2 muscular injuries, and 3 ankle injuries at 23 years of age, 17 injuries in 4 seasons. I understand where you're coming from, Staffy.
It's just it's an uncomfortable conversation that a lot of people don't want to have. And I understand if you're a Chelsea fan, and I'm not saying Don, but if you're a Chelsea fan and you don't want to hear this, unfortunately, this is the situation right now. Not to even mention the lack of development, that he missed on a lot of development in those 4 years, because when you're not there, you just don't get developed. He missed so many games. It's going to hinder his game eventually. I think when I say he's done, I don't say like I don't mean he's done as a footballer. He's not going to retire next year, but like the potential that was expected from him, because a lot of people said that the conversation was always between him and Trent, who's going to be the best right back in England in the next upcoming years. He's not going to be in that conversation in a year or two, just because his levels are just going to have to drop because his body's not going to keep up with it. His game was always so physically demanding. If you remember when he was a wing back, the best thing about him that he was running up and down that pitch so much. His physical presence was easily noticed, and I don't think his body's going to keep up with it anymore. So it sucks to say that, but I don't think he's going to reach the level that we expected from him.
Just some more clarity on this. I just added the game, not the days that he's been out, but the games he's missed. He has missed, and a couple of his injuries have actually happened during pre-season as well, if that makes sense. So you don't count times, but he has missed 80 games, which is essentially more than 2 full Premier League seasons worth of games. From a developmental point of view, that's so much by the time you're 23 years of age. Like, I didn't even know it was that bad. I've never really looked at it until this bit. As a Chelsea fan, Don, how do you feel about it, bruv?
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm just annoyed about this whole situation because obviously, every footballer is different in terms of how they're built. We all know Reece James is, really physical, up and down, constantly bombing up and down. And I feel like the fact that we overused him as a right wing back when naturally he came in as a right back has been a bit detrimental. Do you know what I mean? Because we were forcing this guy to go up and down. Him and Chilwell were, our outlets. They were the ones that were creating the most chances for our team, because we had no creativity in our midfield. So I think that's come back to bite us now, the fact that we were playing free at the back and he was constantly playing basically as a winger, you know what I mean? And it's affected him now because he came in as a right back. And the fact of the matter is, we haven't had serious cover for Reece James in a minute. We had Aspilicueta, who everyone could see finished. That man was finished. Ruben would come in for Reece as well. But we just didn't have any adequate backup for him. This is why Gusto's been brought in to actually come in for Reece James. And, there isn't a drop-off when he comes in. And in pre-season, there was a bit of a conversation that people were saying, should Gusto start against Liverpool? Because in my opinion, he had a better pre-season than James. But I was like, listen, Reece James has to start. Let's not do this recency bias. He has to start. He's a captain now. On his day, he's world-class. He has to start. But it's an uncomfortable conversation to have about him, The injuries aren't getting any better. They're getting more and more frequent now. I don't know what's going on, whether he's had any surgery on it or whatever, but he just can't catch a break. When he comes back, like even against Liverpool, the guy looks like he was, levels above on that side, and he just didn't look like he was trying like that. And look how good he played. So it's a massive blow for us, but at least we've got Gusto.
I do think top right back, to be honest. I think let me
just finish.
They already did. They have
we signed Gusto, so Gusto's gonna come in for Reece James. And yeah, I'm comfortable with him playing there, but I'm worried about Reece, man. I don't know what's gonna happen with his fitness going forward. For me, I said it, like he needs to prove his fitness, because I thought we would have given the captaincy to Silva for at least a year and get Reece to prove his fitness, but we've given that vice captaincy to Chilwell as well. He's another one that's injury prone. So yeah, man, it's peak, because I really like Reece. Obviously, I love Reece, but it's a problem. It's a problem.
I don't think he's going to be in the club.
Problem.
I don't think he's going to be in the club in the next 2 to 3 years, if I'm being honest with you. And it's very harsh, but I don't think so.
Listen, I rate Reece, and people asked me about a year or two ago who would I take out of him and Trent, and at the time I said I'd take Reece. I just, in terms of what he does offensively and defensively, but when you look at the injury, everyone also knows why don't I want Neymar? Injury problems. I feel bad for him. I remember, as I said, Michael Owen, I remember him falling away at a young age, really, from being how good he was in his early stages and what he became in the end because of those injuries. I don't think he was as talented as Reece James. I'm talking about a different player now. Anderson at Man United, his first year or so, he looked so promising as a midfielder. And then I think he had, I want to say 3, it could have even been 4 ACL injuries over a 3.5-4 year period. And he just never really recovered from that. He also had some issues with eating too much McDonald's and KFC, which he later revealed. But so he had some weight issues. But yeah, I just feel like with Reece, your hamstring can't keep going and you return from it. At some point, it creates problems for you, because my cousin played professional football and he had broken legs, knee injuries, hamstrings. But by the time he was 29, my cousin, he was quite a tall guy. He was like 6'3". His right leg, where most of his injuries were on, when it was measured, was almost half an inch shorter than his left leg. because of bones that had come out, muscles that had ripped and couldn't be ripped. Now, he was playing at a slightly lower level, like sort of League One Championship level. Medicine has moved on, but it takes its toll on your body, and there's only so much it's going to take. And I feel bad for, like, genuinely.
Yeah, it does.
I feel bad for him.
It does.
I want to ask,
plus side is
Don. So do you see Loftus-Cheek's situation here at all?
Loftus-Cheek situation? What do you mean?
Where he all the time he was injured. He had a lot of potential when he came, and then everybody was talking about the talent, but he always got injured until at the end. Ruben, until he got sold at the end to AC Milan at the age of 28 without fulfilling his potential. Do you see the same situation here at all?
Yeah, do you know what? With Ruben, he had a big injury that ruled him out for the whole season. Obviously, he got that injury.
The Achilles, that one.
That Achilles. That was a massive injury. Reece hasn't had a big injury to that extent where he's been ruled out for the whole season. What keeps happening is his season keeps getting hindered by like niggles here and there. He's out for a few months. He comes back again. His game stopped again. Comes back. Obviously, the club highly rate him, hence why he's the captain. But for me, how I'm looking at it right now, with Reece, we just have to see how he bounces back from this. I keep saying this every time. This is it. This is why
you can see these problems coming. The definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again, expecting a different result. Now that you've got Malo Gusto in, I can't say I've ever watched him, but apparently he's all right. Maybe you need to. It's very strange to say this about a 25-year-old. Maybe you actually need to start picking and choosing your games with your captain.
But that's what I was going to get to.
Managing your minutes and go, all right. You can't do 2 games a week, otherwise your hamstring goes and we lose you for 3 months. So we're going to give you 3 to 4 games in a month where we're playing 8-9 games, and we can only use you in.
And that's exactly what.
And that's a concern as well, because look, I don't want to get into this debate now, but all these pundits, all these people who try and argue, Reece James is the best right back in the world. Reece James has all the ability to be that, but if he's only fit for half the games or less, he cannot be in those conversations, because as good as you are, if you're missing for the big moments, if you're missing when your team needs you most because of injuries, that is going to hold you back. That is going to cost you in these debates.
But Tom, that's what I've been saying though. I've said this about Gusto. I said, listen, Reece needs to be managed properly now. With Poch, we're going to go back to a back 4.
Does he need a
that means that Reece is going to right back, and certain games I would start Gusto for the sake of saving his fitness.
Did Reece James need a surgery at the back end of last season that he put off?
Listen, I don't think he had that surgery. He had knee surgery. That's the last surgery that he had when he got injured against AC Milan in the Champions League in October. He had surgery then, but no, end of the season, I don't think he's actually had surgery.
So if he's needed this hamstring surgery and you've kept on refusing for whatever reason to get him in, I know it keeps them out for longer, but he's probably going to miss more games by not giving him the surgery and hoping that it heals naturally than just getting the surgery out of the way.
Bro, we agree. We've all said, why is Reece James not getting surgery on this recurring injury? We've all said it.
It's certainly an interest. I've got some super chats here. This one, so there's been a lot of injuries lately to many players. There's been a lot of ACLs, and it normally is, but I think we're only noticing it because it's a lot of ACLs to players we all know. I think that amount of ACL injuries normally happen, but it is often to players you maybe not know. But maybe they've got a look. Maybe there's some new designs or studs in new positions, or back in the day when boots started becoming thinner, so many people broke metatarsals. It was crazy. And before that, no one ever did, because boots used to actually be made of proper leather. Love the show, Terry. If you was to take 5 players from Chelsea, who would they be?
5 players.
Ooh, 5 players from Chelsea. I'd take. I would normally have said Reece James until these injuries, but
you're still taking Gusto.
You better start with Gusto. You have to
I would take Gusto because we've got no right back that I like. I'd take Gusto. I'd take Caicedo. I'd take Enzo. I'd take Lavia. Who else would I take? I actually really rate, and I think he's going to be a baller for you guys. I would take Mudryk off your hands as well. I think there's a real player, a real. Although what he said today, I was like, oh, don't say that. I think someone asked me about his poor start at Chelsea. He said, well, look how poor Vinicius Jr. started at Real Madrid.
Yeah, that rubbed me the wrong way, man. I was thinking, who do you think you are? Like,
he believes in himself, man. He believes in himself. Yeah. I like that attitude.
Gusto is likely to be the main man moving forward. He very much could be.
There was conversations after pre-season about him starting the first game. There was.
and he's got a theory here on why he's injured. He says James's sister stamped on his leg, maybe. That could be why. I don't think so. Hopefully she's back for the final. Although Toon should probably start that game. Look, viewers, we are sponsored by NordVPN today. Now, I know a lot of you use a VPN provider. You should change to Nord. It's the best in the business. It really, really is. You can click on the link in the description or use our QR code on the screen. They've got a new feature out which they call MeshNet, which basically means you can protect all your devices, protect all your data, bank details, and everything. But this also gives you access to maybe your desktop or your Mac at home when you're away on holiday or when you're out the office, as an example. You can add multiple computers to MeshNet to protect yourself and be able to use systems when you're not around. So they've got some really good features. But last week, I told you about using Paramount Plus to watch Premier League football and 3:00 games. For a lot of you, it worked. Some of you, it still didn't in your location. So I found you an even better solution that's cheaper, as well as paying the small amount of money for NordVPN. It's $3.99 a month. And let me just show you this now, because this is absolutely sensational, okay? So you connect to Moldova on your NordVPN. This is mine. You can see it on the screen now. And then you download Setanta Sport. And there you can see right now on there, it's got the highlights from the weekend, as you can see, which you can go and watch. However, you scroll down, there's all the up-and-coming games available in the Premier League, including 3 p.m. games. But there's much more for your $3.99. All the UFC fights are on there, even the pay-per-view ones, for the same price each month, plus NBA, NFL. And if you want to watch it, the new Saudi League is also available on there right now. So you can watch all those stars that have joined the Saudi Arabia League as well. Plus, there's much, much more available, Bundesliga and other sporting events as well. And as I've already mentioned, it's just $3.99 a month. You set it up now. You just pay for it, the app via your Apple Pay, but you've also got desktop access as well. And all you need is NordVPN to switch that on. So scan that QR code on the screen. Get yourself signed up. It is absolutely top notch. You might find that times it says you're in the wrong location. Just close all your apps, turn your phone on and off, reconnect to the Moldova, and it works. It's brilliant. Get it done. And I know that they're happy for this to happen to Setanta Sport. That's why they've changed it from needing a debit card to sign up to doing it through Apple Pay, because they realize. So get it done, people. Go and get $3.99 a month. Look, I think NordVPN is around $2.99 a month. It's really, really cheap as well. So you need both together, but it's cheap as chips. Go and get it done. There we go. Look, the Saudi League. Listen, people are going to watch that league with the stars that are there, 110%. Arsenal, boys. Arsenal. We know they've had the injury to Timber. All I've had conversations with people all day is why are we letting West Ham sign Mohammed Kudus? Are we going to go in for him? Dean Jones and a few other journalists this morning have essentially said, if Balogun goes, they might come in for him. Is that what Arsenal need? Or do they need to go out now and find a replacement for Timber that is likely, according to reports, to miss the remainder of the season? What are we saying, gents?
They need to go and get Timber's replacement. Let's be real. They brought him in to start, as they saw in the first game. He was a player that was going to come and take this team to the next level. He's a very talented player, but going out there looking for another attacking option, when we're being honest, Arsenal's attack doesn't need any more fire unless it's a star striker, unless they're bringing in a player to play in the 9 that's going to score goals. I don't think they need to bring in any other attacking options. I do feel like they've got enough. The problem they're going to have now is that they've got they've got Timber for a long-term injury, and then you have Tomiyasu, who is injury prone. He's always out. You've got Partey, who's injury prone, and so they've got not that many options that they can play at right back apart from Ben White. And we see on the weekend he tried to play him in centre back. Maybe that's something he's looking at doing throughout the season. So again, they may have these issues going forward, and Timber needs to be the number. He needs to be replaced as soon as possible, and they need to go do it for a very good player.
I disagree in the sense that there's 2 games that have been played so far. I didn't watch Arsenal in pre-season. He probably played at right back at points in pre-season, but in both these games he's played so far, he's been at left back, and in just the short term, Zinchenko's coming back. Kivior can play there. Kieran Tierney still hasn't got a move, so he'll probably still be part of the squad if he stays and can be used as an option there. And then, obviously, Jordan Timber's out for the whole season. If they've needed the right back and Jurgensen was probably going to be that solution. But then you buy a right back for this 1 year. When Jurgensen is back, you're back at square one again, where you're at. You've got now 4 right backs who for battling for one position, which I don't think is a situation Arsenal really want to be in. I think that they invested in Timber.
Are they not talking about being a club like Manchester City? That's what
they got hella bodies though, man.
No,
already.
But let's be honest now.
The issue,
they want to be a big club.
They want to be a club like Man City, but they haven't got rid of everyone yet. They haven't got rid of the
That is
deadwood
true,
yet.
but you can still have 2 top players battling out for the position, just like Cancelo and Walker did at Manchester City.
Yeah, but you're suggesting that they have 3 next season, maybe even 4 if
who are the other options? They will have Timber and another good player. There's no other players that they would really.
No, but you're saying for right back.
Yeah, but it's their squad though. This is what they wanted. They wanted a deeper squad, so they're gonna have to use it. And if you don't want to use it, get rid of them then, and then bring in a replacement for Timber. You know, everyone can see how many players Arsenal have. They've got a deep squad. So
but isn't it clear to see that
you can't keep buying a new player with the squad that they've got right now. You can't keep. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like Tom said, they've got Zinchenko coming back already that can play at left back. On the other side, you've got Ben White can go back and play at right back. Saliba go back in his natural position, and then bring Gabriel back in. There's things that Arteta can do. You still got Kivior there, you still got Tierney there. Let's not act as if there's a crisis at the back of Arsenal. It's not a crisis. Yes, Timber's a big blow, but they've got a massive squad. They're gonna have to use it. And if they want to go out and replace Timber,
the only reason that Timber's been at left back is because Zinchenko's been injured. When Zinchenko was back, they're going to go back to how they played last year, which is Zinchenko starts, Zinchenko inverts, and they form a back 3. So then Jordan Timber was supposed to be brought in to be the right back of that back 3, so he forms the right centre back. But Ben White can still do that job. Tomiyasu can still do that job for a season.
Is Tomiyasu not injury prone? Most
of them are injury prone.
Tierney always finds himself with injuries. These are a lot of players that are injury prone. But
then they shouldn't buy one player for that reason. When they've already just spent money on buying one player for that reason, so then next season they have 2 players for that reason.
Yeah, the only club allowed to do that is Chelsea. When Fofana get injured, they want to get another player, Disasi. This is the only club that is allowed to do that. I think apparently that's why you guys are staying. That's why you guys
are Hold on a second. Wait, let me just get that there. Your club want Chalobah. Why? We're trying to get rid of him. We're trying to get rid of him. So we need a right centre back.
Did you sell him yet?
No, but the plan is to get rid of him. Okay. Right? Because
listen, I actually agree with Tom. I just throw this out there because you and Tom are telling Arsenal to work with what they have until players come back. Where Chelsea didn't like Koulibaly because it didn't work out. You went in the January transfer window. You bought an exact similar player but younger in Badiashile. It's okay. I applaud your club for doing it, but don't tell other clubs not to do it because your club is doing it. And it looks like you
Can I ask you a question then, Mo? When Fofana got injured, who was our right centre back options? You tell me. Nobody. So then why can't we get a replacement then? Because Chalobah's plan. Well, the plan is to move Chalobah on.
They bought Timber. Didn't they buy Timber? Right? They had plans for Timber, right?
But they've got.
He got injured. He got injured. Is that correct?
He did. So
they have plans for him. You want to find a solution for somebody to replace Timber, and instead of them buying the replacement, like what you did. This is what you guys are. You want to hold on,
Mo. No one's saying that Arsenal can't find a solution for Timber. You're missing the point here. All I'm saying is they've got a deep squad. They've got a lot of numbers there, and at the back they've got a lot of defenders. I didn't interrupt you, bro. Let me just finish my point. Yeah, they've got a lot of numbers. They've got a lot of numbers at the back, right? Fofana's been injured for the whole season. The only right centre back that we had was Chalobah, right? To come in, and as you know, the plan is to move Chalobah on. That's the reason why we brought someone in. I'm not saying Arsenal can't replace Timber. What I'm saying is they've got a lot of players back there. They need to get rid before they bring someone in. Timber's not going to be gone forever. He's going to come back.
Can I ask a question? Is Chalobah sold?
He's injured right now, as it stands. Yeah, he got confirmed injured
Another
today.
Injury.
But the plan is to move him on.
You replaced him with Disasi, right?
Okay, correct.
Listen, you're not getting my point. I applaud you for doing this. It's the club's ambition, as we all talk about. This is Todd Bowley wanting to win. But you guys are telling Arsenal to find a solution within instead of going to the market. I actually think that Timber was an extra guy. If you want to ask me, apart from the banter and all the joke and the joke that I threw that just threw you off and you got sensitive about it, I actually think
I think
that
it's sensitive.
Arsenal
You're
need
just
a
not speaking
Kudus.
facts. You think you're speaking facts. But
I said exactly. Fofana got injured, and you got Disasi. Koulibaly didn't work. You bought Badiashile. But Arsenal, Timber got injured, and we're asking should they go to the market or not. You and Tom jumped in and said no, they shouldn't.
I think it's more because he just came in, Mo. It's because they just bought him and he got injured right away. So it doesn't matter.
Short,
I think the better solution, I'll find a common ground between everyone here. I think the best solution is to actually go and loan a player in, because I don't think it makes sense to buy a player just because Timber got injured right away. They do have depth, but if you're being realistic, who steps in for Timber now?
Do you want to realistically, right? Do you want realistically? Arsenal should not buy a replacement for Timber. That's my opinion.
Well, that's why
Arsenal have enough depth in the back, because we forget about Kivior, right? I actually think they need Kudus because they're gonna miss the goals and the assists.
Wait, hold on. So you agree with us? You agree with us, but then why did you make a comment about Chelsea then?
Do you want me to tell you that? Do you want me to tell you? Do you want me to tell you why? Because I agree. Because I agree with your reasonings, but you're not applying the same for your club.
Because my club did not have the depth that Arsenal have at the back. Badiashile was literally injured. We had to bring someone in. Fofana's injured for the whole season. Like I said, when we had a conversation about it, we were saying like we should keep Chalobah. I would play Chalobah now, right? We weren't sure if the club were going to bring someone in. But as it stands, as you know, we've spent a lot of money. The club are planning to move Chalobah on. So they had to bring in a replacement. We had no choice, bro. I'm not saying Arsenal shouldn't go and get someone else for what's his name, Timber. All I'm saying is they've got a lot of players back there. Like you've just said there, they need to get rid first before they bring someone in, because Timber's going to come back eventually.
So their plan was to get rid of Turney. Okay, so let me apply your same logic. Their plan is to get rid of Turney. Should they go and buy someone, assuming that they're going to get rid of Turney?
They might have to change that plan. Huh? I had this conversation with Jermaine the other day. I said they might have to change that plan because they're planning to get rid of Turney.
Turney's going to get Turney's injury prone. Should they go and go? Should they go and get another one? No,
but Tierney's not going to start though because Arteta doesn't fancy him. So Zinchenko's coming back this week against Palace. He's starting for them. Tierney is what, like third choice for them. So right now the plan might be to keep Tierney up until at least another season if he's happy to stay. Like I said, I'm not against Arsenal wanting to.
Though.
No. Tierney, they want to sell Tierney, but like I said, the plan might have to change.
No. Tierney has to go.
They're even keeping Tierney. He's at risk of getting injury because he's
100%, George. He has to be sold. Listen, they don't want to start him. He's not in the plans. You sell him before he gets injured again. So there's no, I don't see a scenario where they keep Tierney for one more year. But this takes me back to what I said. You loan in a player until Timber comes back. Because as George said earlier, and he said it perfectly, Zinchenko coming back is not for a long time because this guy's like a ticking bomb. He's going to get injured in any moment. Tamiyasu, same thing. He can fill in the right. He can fill in on the left. But he's another ticking bomb. In any moment, he's going to get another injury. The only thing Arsenal should do right now, which I find very reasonable, just a loan for a backup. Probably not even going to play. You know how we got Sabitzer because Eriksen got injured for about 2 to 3 months. And he barely played when Eriksen came back. That's what they got to do right now. Just go loan in someone that Arteta identifies as good enough to be in this team, but not to the point that I want to buy him, which is why he's only a loan. And there you go. You got your depth for the season until your players are back.
A loan is a good shout, Steffi.
You can get, listen, they loaned in Raya for what, 4 million? There's a lot of loans out there. If Arteta goes loans in someone from the Spanish league as an example, because that's probably his expert, as being a Spaniard himself, he could recruit anyone from that league. They're going to be on very low wages. He's going to be like, okay, this is someone that I potentially would have in my club ideally. So I'll just loan him in. You're paying 2-3 million max, and then you're good for the season. Timber is not out forever. He's only going to be back in a few months. So I think
let me just play devil's advocate real quickly because my football club went through having the whole injury-prone entire depth issue. You can say you want to buy because they're going to get injured, but you don't know how long the injuries are going to be for. So in the same breath that Tierney's probably due an injury this year and Tomiyasu's probably due an injury this year, there is the same chance that if they are used right under Arteta and they're not the minutes are managed, all of a sudden you've got a backup option who's not going to miss as many games. Therefore, it becomes a little bit more of a understandable move. For me, I just don't see the point in Arsenal spending £30 million on someone who next year will be third choice.
100%.
Like a loan option is the right way for it. Like if a Kyle Walker-Peters or someone was available on a loan, but I don't see that happening at this point in the window. I just
So
struggle
what
to
about
see
if they
something
bring
like
in a
that
good
happen.
player? Because clearly we know Arsenal got money to spend. If they're looking at a player like Kudus, 35, 40 million, they could bring in a signing for 25, 30 million, a very good player, someone that's a bit more established. That will, yes, Timber's going to be the option next season, but let's be real, Timber's still young. If he doesn't work out and he potentially gets another injury, they've got a player that's going to come in and fill in the position.
Then
And if not,
it's about weighing the risk, though,
There's
isn't
talk
it?
of Pavard today, and I think someone like I think a player like Pavard could be very good,
Perfect.
especially as there's question marks over the long-term future of, say, Tomiyasu. Is Holding still there? I don't think Holding's left, is he? You've got Holding there. So even if you bring in Pavard, there's now a space for him because Timber's gone. If he does well and Timber comes back and is great, it's the Holding and Tomiyasu's that move. Listen, I think a loan could work, but I think they do need to look at replacing him. But I agree with Mo. I think I still look at Chelsea and Arsenal and think to myself, why are you letting Kudus join West Ham or Brighton? This kid is sensational. I kind of want my club to go for him, but then we'll just get called bad talent ID because he's played at Ajax. But like,
I would take Kudus all day. I don't care what anyone says.
I want him, bro.
Can I now say it? To be honest, why do you need Kudus? I think.
Yeah, go on, mate. Yeah, go on. Tell us.
I think,
did you not like Timber, Terry?
Right.
But he
wanted Timber.
He wanted Timber.
Hang on.
Another player that he used.
No. Don't do that. See, he said that and he's just running away. We were getting Timber.
We didn't sign him, did we? We didn't sign him.
LVG told him, if you go there, I'm not taking you in the World Cup because you're not going to get minutes. So he rejected us, and then we got Lissandro. So Lissandro was...
And then you wanted him again this season, right?
No, we didn't go back in for him.
We didn't go back.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to say that.
Ship
Anyway, so Kudus... Find
me a report from this summer where we went in for him, and I'll give you 100 quid.
You know what, George, just for that, I can't wait for the Spurs segment.
Guys, from a credible outlet, find me one from this summer from a credible outlet, and I'll give you £100.
Oh, see, his mic knew he was bullshitting.
You've gone on mute. You got on mute.
No. I said, what's the finest credible? Just so I know for your
like from a top journalist, like a proper journalist.
Is that you only Fabrizio Ornstein? I don't know.
Fabrizio Ornstein,
there's a lot of different levels.
Alfredo.
How about you find one first?
I'll tell you the guy, Mike Vervaal, who knows everything that's going on in Holland. Find me the Netherlands. Find me where he said United have come in from this summer, and I'll give you £100. Because I don't remember reading a single story about it all summer. So
they're taking him. Look, he can't even talk to him.
I actually was angry when he went to Arsenal because
no, you guys had a long-standing interest in him. As you said, last season you couldn't take him, but this season, if you would have went in for him.
So George, a golden opportunity. Just find one report, bro. Just a golden opportunity.
We did have an opportunity, but as far as I'm aware, we didn't make any bid for him this. If you can find me an article from a credible journalist where we made a bid for him this summer or an offer for him this summer, I'll give you £100. That's it.
Live on the air, he's giving you the opportunity. Just go now, search the internet. It's a free.
I just know we didn't make a bid for him this summer. That's the thing. It's great.
I've never said they made a bid. I didn't see.
Oh please! You said we were in for him. So what's in for him?
Because I'm not being funny. At this moment in time, you don't need to bid for a player to then be rejected. You speak to players. We see all the news that comes out. You can be interested, and if you can't agree personal terms with a player, which you speak to a player beforehand, then you don't need to bid. And let's be real, we all knew after last season when he was a little bit interested in Man United. He saw what happened with Arsenal. Arsenal's the better project right now. Arsenal is his number one choice. It's when they came in. Mate, there's no brilliant player. You guys got turned down again. It's fine.
Last season, when we were in for him, Arsenal weren't, and that was before Arsenal competed. So no one said Arsenal.
Just to be honest, George never said that Man United submitted the bid. George said that Man United right now were interested.
George is going to go for.
No, he said we made an offer for him.
No, I never said you made an offer. Go back and roll the clip if you want.
No, he said we were in for him. Those are
in for him. What is in for him? What was it in for him mean?
Interested in him. He was interested in him. Just like. Wait, how many players do you?
No. Guys, we're going completely off. Guys, we're going off the topics here. Just again, I'll read the fund again. Find me a credible article where it said Man United have got an interest and we're going in for him. Not we've got a long-standing interest or we were interested last year. Find where it said we were going in for him this summer. It doesn't even matter to me. I'm just saying, go find it. Bro, don't waste your time because we never wanted him this season. Walker Peters on loan is an option.
That is what I get Bellerin now.
He actually was quite good for Southampton last year.
He was actually all right.
to their transfer plan, sell Tierney, Balogun, Tavares, and Lokonga, and buy a utility backup and another 6. I don't think, maybe Tierney might stay now if they don't buy another defender. Timber got injured and were back to our defense. Now Holding is back in rotation. Get Fresneda, I think it's pronounced Fresneda, is it? Now and move on from Tomiyasu and Holding next year. Good super chat. Mo is the only non-agenda person on the panel, obviously, is what Kenny says here.
Mo's nickname is Mogenda, and you just said he has no agendas.
Neto here says, never felt so calm about the Arsenal squad. I hear you on that.
Mo, this thing just real quick. Just real quick on the Kudus thing. I don't think that's the player Arsenal should be going for, personally. I think he's a fantastic player, but I look at Arteta, I look at what he could do, I look at what I think this Arsenal squad and how they're going to play is. I think they should be weighing up a move for Ansu Fati. If Barcelona are actually open to selling
Ansu Fati, we're talking about injury records. You want to talk about him?
Yeah, Ansu Fati, Tom? He's a winger.
Yeah, Arsenal need a winger.
But they have Trossard to cover the left wing, and they have
they're using
Trossard. They kept Nelson as well.
Using Trossard to cover
Nelson, exactly. Don is right.
They're using Trossard to cover everywhere.
The levels we're at.
It's not me, Staffy. It's not me. Arsenal gave Reece a contract. It's not me.
We can't ignore it.
But do you imagine? Listen, I do understand he has an injury record, but do you imagine Ansu Fati, Saka, Martinelli as your wing options, your main 3 winger options, because he can play on both sides. Ansu Fati.
Ansu Fati has not played consistently for a couple of years now. What are we talking about?
No, let's not act like he's not a talent though.
He is a talent.
He is a talent.
And yes, without the injury problems he has had throughout his young career, if he does get a long run of games, we do know that he will take over Martinelli or Saka's position. He has the potential.
He needs a stable environment.
Man, they gave him Messi's number.
A stable environment where he can spend the next 2-3 years. Maybe he's not going to play as much as we all thought he would do, but it's mad that he's still only 20. The man is still only 20.
I would take Fati.
21, isn't he?
You would take it.
21.
I've just been hearing Reece James's career going to be over. Then you're talking about this guy's injury record, which is
you know what, Don? Maybe the people are right. You are sensitive about your team, aren't you? Because every time we talk about someone, you try to bring it back to Chelsea, and you make excuses to why we said about your team.
No.
Right.
What I'm surprised about, yeah, is the fact that you lot are doing Ansu Fati prop. His injury record is one of the worst injury records in football right now. That's not what Arsenal need, especially over how they play. That's not what. Listen, he's talented, but his injury record is finished. Same thing as Reece James.
I don't think it's worse than James, though.
The thing is, I'm not even denying Reece James' injury record. His injury record is terrible, bro. And like I said, I'm concerned for him. But like I said, Ansu Fati for me, bro, the guy's injury record is not good. He wouldn't be a good option for Arsenal on the pitch. Yes, talent, but bro, he'll be in a medical room every other week.
Can we get it something straight?
I don't know what people expect though. Like I'm not saying buy Ansu Fati to start ahead of Martinelli week in, week out. I'm saying Ansu Fati to be the backup to Martinelli and to Saka. So he's not starting every week. But there might be even weeks where he's not even playing because you've got the likes of Trossard there, you've got the likes of Nelson there, you can wheel them out in other games. I look at Ansu Fati as a pure footballer. There are always going to be the injury concerns, but last season he only missed 2 games with injury. Maybe he's managed to finally get over that meniscus injury that really set him back. If he has managed to get over that initial wobble, he's still going to have problems. But if he's in a backup role, at 20 years of age, under Mikel Arteta, I see a player who could absolutely explode there in a stable environment, which Arsenal could provide.
He very much could do. Go on, Safi, go on.
I was going to say, look, I just want to back Tom's argument right here because I looked up the injury record. The meniscus injury that we all know that he had, he was out for a year. He never got another injury again because I'm looking at the report here. None of them were related to the meniscus. And so since he got healed from that has never bothered him again. So the injuries that he's had, the major injuries, was a hamstring injury twice in 2021 and 2022. That's it. All the other injuries are just like bruise, knock, out for 2 weeks, out for 1 week. So he's had only 3 major injuries. When I say major, he's been out for a month or more, and it's hamstring and the meniscus. So no, the injury record is nowhere near Reece James as we were talking about. Because when Terry named it, he said 17 injuries.
Can I ask that question? Sorry, Don.
The thing is,
it's the same hamstring, the same leg as the knee, Stuffy. Just for me, it's the same.
Well, it wasn't the knee. The meniscus is not the knee.
It's the ham. the meniscus is the knee. What are you
No.
talking about, bro?
Wait,
What's the
isn't
Meniscal laceration.
I'm pretty
Where-
sure the
what are you
meniscus
talking
is a
about?
ligament inside the knee.
Bro,
It's in
Oh,
the
you
knee.
know what?
It's in the knee.
What
bro,
was
the
injury?
meniscus
No, no.
is the knee, bro. It's a
Yeah,
Are you
terrible
on, are you
injury
on
in
about
the
the
knee.
metatarsal? Are you thinking about the metatarsal?
I'm thinking about, remember KD when he got injured for the guys that watch the NBA?
Anyway,
Yeah,
so the
you're on about
hamstring
the Achilles.
is related to
Achilles,
the
sorry,
meniscus.
I'm thinking of Achilles. That's my
The
fault. Sorry.
meniscus is related to the hamstring. If it's the same
Sorry,
leg,
that
that
makes
leg is much, much weaker
That's a good
than
point.
before. I know that for a fact. Anyway, long story short, I don't know why you guys
Yeah.
are talking about the difference between Kudus and Ansu Fati. Kudus is more stable now. He's gonna be cheaper, probably. He's still young. He's very versatile. I think Kudus would suit this Arsenal team to the T. He can play right wing behind the striker. He can replace the goals that Xhaka scored for them last year. He can assist. I think Kudus suits them to the T. I think Kudus absolutely elevates that team even another level. Come on, guys.
No,
He played.
wait till you
It's-
find
But
out
is
because
that
had the
not- is
meniscus
that
injury.
not-
Guys, it's a very, very interesting debate. Viewers, I want to get your take on it in the comments section below. This Calvin here says Cancelo and Kudus would be perfect. Don't need a left winger. Interesting indeed. Two big games this weekend. Stay with us for the previews. Make sure you're smashing the like and share buttons. I want to get your score predictions on both these big games this weekend. First one, George, Tottenham versus Manchester United. You must be supremely confident ahead of this game.
I haven't seen you smiling for about like 6 months, George, to
Listen,
be honest.
me and Steffi were talking about this
Am
earlier.
I off mute? I don't know what's going on. It's
I
not.
can
it's
hear you
not
now. I can hear you now.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm supremely confident. That's a wild shout. We're still a new team. We're still playing under a new manager. I like the way we performed against Brentford. I didn't expect us to go out there and smash them away. Brentford are a very good team at their home ground, and that's why none of the top teams really got results at their ground last season. So there's a lot to improve on. I still feel like we've got a problem in our front line with Richarlison. As much as I tried to like him, he's such an awkward player. I feel like in the way that we play, I don't feel like it's going to work out for him in the end. So it's going to be a good game. I'm looking forward to it. I don't feel like we're going to go out there and smash you away, but it's going to be competitive. I don't want to sit here and say that I'm going to predict us to win because I still feel like the Manchester United that you see on the weekend is going to be completely different to the Manchester United that turns up. Against Tottenham, you never see a bad Manchester United team. We know that. You guys can be in your worst form and then all of a sudden you turn up against Tottenham away and Rashford decides that he wants to have his best game. So, and also on top of that, I've looked at the referees that are there, Anthony Taylor and is Anthony Taylor and was it John? It's some of the
Any more
the
excuses you want to get out right now?
No. I'm just gonna say some of the most biased
he's spitting.
referees. No, there's some of the most biased Manchester United referees that you could expect. So I do expect there to be a controversial VAR decision on the weekend. Hopefully in our way. Hopefully the referees need to bite back at Man United after last weekend. But it's going to be an interesting game. I do think it's going to be goals, probably 2-2 or something like that. But I don't know if we're going to win, man.
How about yourself, Staffy? Are you growing more confident as the week goes on? We know it was a poor performance on Monday, but surely, I mean, I want to about Man United's performance on Monday to put it into perspective. We had some crap teams in the last decade. Would everybody agree?
Yeah.
That was the most amount of chances and shots we've conceded at home since 2004. So, as much as it was a bad performance, there is a part of me, and this isn't a copium thing or a bias element, where you think maybe it was just a freakishly bad night, considering we've played this Man City team at home however many times in the last 7 years and not conceded that many shots. But yet Wolves had more shots against us than any other team in 20 years. That's freak result, maybe. Freak performance, maybe. But Staffy, are you feeling any more confident going into this game? Do you think the manager will make changes that will improve us?
The manager won't make changes. If Garnacho starts, then I'm coming on the I can't say that because he might start and play well. But if he starts, I'll be very shocked. Based on the performance that he had last week. He's proven more than once that he's a very good option off the bench, and he's proven more than once that he's not ready to start. So I'd be very shocked if he starts him again. I think the solution is very easy. We need an extra body in that midfield. So until we get that from maybe like one of our returning injuries, we're gonna. I 100% think he's gonna start Sancho in the false nine. He needs to get Rashford involved in the game. Rashford cannot be involved in the game when he plays as a striker. So to unlock Rashford, at least, he's going to have to put Sancho as a false nine. So I think once that happens, you get Sancho, who drops deep in the midfield, who links up the play on both wings. So you're kind of already doing better in the midfield. Watching the Spurs game, because I did watch the Spurs game against Brentford. I don't know enough about Postecoglou yet. So I don't know how stubborn he is as a manager. I don't know if he's flexible or not. But if he plays the same way that he plays that he played against Brentford against us, we will cook him, because they were playing at the halfway line. And you can't do that with Rashford on our team. Rashford always scores against Spurs, it seems.
We have fast centre backs now. Mickey van der Ven's a very fast centre back. I don't feel like we take the risk with two.
You want to play us at the halfway line? Is that what you want to do?
We're going to play very high. Postecoglou is very stubborn in the way that he plays, and he's going to play the exact same way, very similar into the way that we played against Brentford. We're going to play the high line. We're going to have. I know that. I'm 100% sure about that. He's not going to, and I expect us to dominate the game. You guys will create chances on the counter attack. I don't deny that. But like you said, players like Rashford, players like Sancho, that they're players like Rashford and Sancho. Let's be honest, on their day they can be good, but on and off day, then they're not critical players. Then they're not good finishers.
Jules, can I ask you a question?
But I wanted to explain what's dominate the game, because it's important.
We're going to dominate the game in possession. We're going to dominate the game with possession. I know we're going to dominate the game with the ball. I feel like we're going to create the most chances. We're playing at home. We're going to play on the front foot. You guys are going to play your counter-attacking football. That's what the way you are going to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're going to break us down that way. That's the way we're going to, probably the best way to play against us at the moment. But we're going to dominate the game.
This is what I was saying to Staffy before the game. Before the show earlier today. Jules, do you feel that you're going to be keeping possession for possession's sake, or do you feel that you're going to be a little bit more, trying to be more of a threat, trying to be more on the front foot? How do you feel your midfield is going to do in comparison to United?
The problem that we have, it isn't our midfield. It's, again, Richarlison up top. We can create chances, but not having the right number 9 in the middle to be on the back end of those chances and make the right movements and just receive the ball in the good areas. That's the problem we have. If it was Harry Kane, we would break down that defense. I feel like we'd create a lot of chances and it'd be dangerous.
Harry Kane was there.
Yeah, of course, but he's not. So we have Richarlison, a player that's not clinical. Just like I say about Rashford.
He was not involved in the Brentford game at all. That's something to worry.
Yeah, he didn't. He had 1 or 2 chances in the Brentford game. He was completely disappeared the whole game. And I expect against Manchester United, he probably will be. He's going to get handled by Lisandro and Varane. I don't expect him to have a good game. So it's going to be reliant on the likes of Maddison and our wingers, Son especially, to create goals. And if we start Son in the 9, we'll be able to create some problems. But if not, then we're not going to be able to finish the chances, and that's my worry. I don't feel like we're going to finish them.
If I'm talking from Man United point of view, to be honest, I think you should drop Garnacho, play Mount on the left, and choose one of Eriksen, and this is going to sound crazy, or McTominay to play next to Casemiro.
Bro, the minute you said Mount on the left, I'm not even interested anymore.
I'll tell you, yeah, because exactly. Why? So who would you play on the left?
I already said Rashford.
No. Maybe Sancho. So that's not a bad option. However, I don't think Man United can go into this game. I watched both teams, right? I watched the 90 minutes of both games. The way Spurs play, holding position around the 18 of the other team, you need someone strong in that tackle to prevent Maddison from playing and having space. Even Bissouma had space. If you play Mount and Bruno in front of Casemiro will get spun like all the time with him. In my opinion, you'll need someone strong. And because you don't have Amrabat, I'm just working with what you have now. Right? It's either going to be Eriksen, who's weaker in defensive side, or you play McTominay, who's a big body next to Casemiro. It's the only way. They're going to have 70% of ball position. They're going to try to go to the wing, recycle it, and Maddison is going to shoot from outside the 18. They have Richarlison, who's terrible, but you keep spamming crosses to Richarlison, you might create problems. I don't rate Richarlison. Richarlison, for me, is a terrible player, right? But
and this is what I was saying to Staffy. I said, for me, I feel like Spurs, when I watched them the other day, they look like they've transformed their style of play, and the players that they've got in possession in midfield, they're a lot more comfortable than what you've got in midfield. You know what I mean? Bissouma, he doesn't treat the ball like a hot potato. You've got Maddison as well, Premier League proven as well, doesn't treat the ball like a hot potato. So for me, I was saying to Staffy, I think that Tottenham are going to play around United in that midfield. They're going to bop it around them. They're going to create a lot of chances. But what's going to be the difference is who's going to finish these chances. I don't trust Richarlison to be finishing chances right now. So on his day, very clinical. And then, Kulusevski, he's just falling off the face of the earth. So I don't know what's going on there. But I did say to Staffy as well, Listen, he hasn't been the Kulusevski we saw when he first came on loan. Let's be real, Jules. Let's be real. He hasn't been up there. Like
he's taken a different role in the team. And if you see the way that he's playing now, the way that he drifts inside, he adds a lot to our game, and he's needed in the way that he plays. I feel like he's very important to the way that we play. And people that tried to downplay how good Kulusevski was last season because he didn't get GA and just lost. He was still one of our most creative outlets behind Harry Kane, always causing a problem down the right, and he's our best 1v1 player. He needs to be in our team. And people try to
you watch your team more than I do. But like I said, from the Kulu that I saw when he first came to the Kulu that I'm seeing now, I'm seeing a bit of a drop off. But like I said, I do think United will probably get a goal or two. But I think that Tottenham are just going to have too much in the middle there. You know, you've got players that are really comfortable in the ball. I think they're going to create a lot more chances, and it's just up to the finishers. Can they finish these chances? I think that's where the game's going to be won or lost.
I hear you, boys, on that. In terms of score predictions for that game, I'm going to first go to Tom on this one. What's your prediction, bro?
Tottenham at home, are they?
Yeah.
Yes.
2-2. But it'll be a game which Tottenham should have won like 5-2.
Don.
I'm going to say 2-1 Spurs.
Okay. Man like Mo?
2-1 Spurs.
2-1 Spurs. That's something no one says anymore. Man like. That was a big thing everyone used to say. Now no one says it anymore. So it must have it suddenly become unfashionable. Staffy, what you saying, bruv?
3-1 United is going to be one of the easiest games we play all season.
I hope so.
Okay.
George, what you saying, bro?
I was waiting for something like that. I'm just going to go 2-2. I think we're going to draw. I think it's going to be an exciting game. I say I think we're going to dominate, but we're going to fail to finish our chances. And yeah, I feel like we'll be.
Staffy, you're really convinced that you're going to win 3-1, or you're just saying that because you
I was trying to explain, but no one really made me explain. But I do. I think this win is going to paper over the cracks because they're not going to play the same way that Wolves played against us. They're going to try to keep the ball, and I don't have an issue with a team trying to keep the ball against us. We struggled last game, not because they kept the ball, it's because their transition was very effective. When we played very high up the pitch, they had athletes in that midfield, and they filled up that midfield with 4 players that every time they ran at Casemiro, they outnumbered him. Spurs is not going to do that. Spurs is going to be playing a much slower style of football. They're going to be trying to build from the back. They already have a goalkeeper that's been shaky that no one's talked about. They have Emerson Royal in the back line, who's not the best passer. I think they're going to play Sanchez because Romero's out. I don't know if Romero's back. Van de Ven, I don't know much about him. So we against Wolves, we won the ball in their final third 18 times, and we converted 0 of them. So imagine a team that persists from building from the back like Spurs. You know, I already made a prediction that we will score a goal just off a defensive mistake where we're going to get the ball off them in their final third and we're going to score, you know? So people are comparing the last game with this game. The only reason I'm saying it's going to be an easy game because I don't worry playing against a position-based team. We keep conceding goals in preseason when we did is because we gave up the ball a lot. The reason we conceded 23 chances last game is because we committed 39 turnovers in the final third. Remember, Terry, you sent me that stat. That was 10 more than Chelsea, the closest team to us. So it's not going to be a similar game at all versus Spurs, you know?
Can
so
I
don't
ask
worry.
you something, Staffy? Last season, away from home, how was your record? Terrible. That's a fact.
It was
not
horrible,
great.
yeah.
Did you control the games away from home?
Did we control the games? No.
You didn't. No. What about at home? How was your home form last season?
I mean, Mo,
fantastic,
you know the answer,
right?
so
fantastic, right? And you controlled the game. So based on facts, how I'm analyzing it, you struggle when teams control the game, not the other way around.
Not really, no. What does that even mean?
Controlling
the game and controlling the ball are two different.
I'm talking about ball position and controlling the game in terms of
controlling the game and controlling the ball are two different things, Mo.
Let me explain to you.
No, let me explain to you.
No, I'm going to explain to you what I mean because you accused me of not saying something.
Because it doesn't make sense, Mo. Controlling the game and controlling the ball are two things. I said they're going to control the ball. That's fine with me.
You accuse me of not making sense. Right? I'm going to explain to you. Okay.
Go ahead.
When you don't controlling the game is not only ball position. Okay. It's where the ball is played. And the way I looked at Spurs last game, they kept recycling the ball left and right until they had a chance to play a through ball to Richarlison. It doesn't work, so they opt to crossing, and they created a lot of chances against Brentford. They got hit on the counter, fair enough. You last season, Man United, away from home, you struggled, right? And you didn't control the ball again. You didn't control the game away from home. Ten Hag likes to pin the teams back, which is why your home form was amazing last season. Created a lot of chances, finished some, didn't finish some. But you struggled away from home because you could not impose the way you play, which is pinning the teams back, controlling position, right? That's what I'm basing my analysis on. It's not based on counter-attack.
Interest of time, guys, because I've actually got a prior engagement that started 10 minutes ago, and I want to finish the show properly. I do get where you're coming from, Mo. I do think our biggest issue the other night was because we had people in the wrong positions when we were trying to push forward. If we would have had our fullbacks inverting when they should have been, they wouldn't have transitioned on us. I think it's a very basic fix. As long as the players get it right, that won't happen again. But I do think Spurs are going to have more of the ball. They're going to be at home, and that's how they play. We've done the score predictions. Viewers, you want to know yours. City play Newcastle this weekend as well, boys, which is an interesting game because, City won last night. They deserved their trophy. But Sevilla created chances against them. Newcastle started the season like a freight train, but they were at home. Now this is away. How do we see this game panning out? Could this be a shock result where Newcastle takes some points off City, or are they just going to have too much, Tom? Is this just going to be City at home, relentless, get the win, move on?
I think it'll be an open game, but I think it depends on if Newcastle can convert one of the few chances they'll get. And I think that they can do. I think that Isak is a fantastic player. I think Harvey Barnes should be getting the start. I'm a big fan of Harvey Barnes. I think him and Isak could have a really good connection together. I think that side is how you're potentially going to get at them if Kyle Walker doesn't play. On the other side, it's a Kanji, it's Ake, solid defenders. If it's Walker on the other side, I think he has the potential to be caught out a little bit more. Even though he's got the pace to get back, there's the potential of it. Ultimately, though, I don't see Newcastle taking their chances, and then Foden will pop up with a moment, or Bernardo Silva will pop up with a moment, because this is what City just do. This is what they just do, and it's incredibly annoying. So, as much as I'd want to say, 2-1 Newcastle, I'm going to go for a 2-0 City.
The first game at home as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I think they're going to struggle.
I'll go Nick.
I do think City are going to struggle. I do think Newcastle are going to give them a very good game. I do think they're going to be. I think Newcastle are going to throw a lot at them. I think they will score. Maybe I think Newcastle might go 1-0 up and then Man City come back and win it 2-1 because that's just what Man City do. But I do think City are going to struggle. Even against Arsenal, you saw they wasn't that good. They did struggle to create chances. They will control a lot of the ball, but they wasn't that clinical. And sometimes you can take Haaland out of the game. It's not impossible to keep Haaland out of the game. And if you do, you shut up a lot of their attack, especially when KDB's not there. So I feel like Newcastle are going to do a very good job maybe early in the game, but they'll probably struggle as it starts to go on a bit longer. And I do think that City will come away with it.
I'd love Newcastle to win, but I agree with you, George. I feel like I think Newcastle teams taking points off City early in the season is a good thing for everybody, but I think they're just going to come through. They're just a machine. They're an absolute machine. Interesting with KDB being out, though, because I noticed it last night. Kovacic is no Gundogan. He just isn't. He's actually good at progressing the ball, but his final ball is not very good. He isn't as clutch as him, and they have no one in the team right now that can do what KDB does. So they have got some weaknesses there, but that just stops them from being like aliens and makes them still the best team in England, if that makes sense. Like their drop-off isn't as much as anybody else's would be in that situation. As an example, Carl Palmer, this kid that's come in, scored in his first 2 appearances this season, and you sort of look at it, and as a player, they're genuinely considering letting go, and he's scoring goals. I'd love Newcastle to do it. I'd love to see another. I thought Tonali's debut the other day was outstanding. Maybe I'm biased with my own players, of course, but maybe the best debut I've seen in the Premier League, especially in a long. I can't remember a midfielder that's come in and dominated a game, scored, and just been that impeccable in a long time. I can't even think of one who's done that.
James Maddison.
When?
Bro, you didn't even win the game. You should have lost the game.
I knew he was going to bring it back to Spurs.
Yeah, you know what? James Madison's a good shout.
Fantastic, though.
I'm just being real. He was phenomenal that game.
He was phenomenal. But what I would say, the reason I put Tonali's above it is that's his first game in England. Like his first game in England, first game in the Prem.
I would give you that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I'm saying, bro. Like, and again, Maddison was great the other day. I watched him and just like, Jesus, that's purring over him. I think he's a great player, and I won't change my mind just because he's joined your mob. But I'm going to go 2-1 City as well. I'd love to predict City to lose, but I can't. I'm going to go 2-1 to City in this game.
I can take the sensible one and say City win. I feel Newcastle are going to win 2-1 in this game. I watched yesterday's game. I say Man City wide open. I see Kyle Walker got cooked by Ocampos yesterday on the transition, on the counter-attack. And I've seen Gordon or Harvey Barnes or Isaac running at them at that defense. I don't know if Diaz is back, by the way. I don't know if Stones is back. That defense looks so shaky. I'm not gonna sit on the fence and say, yes, you have genius. Yes, Pep is a genius and everything. No Stones, no Diaz. Kyle Walker is in. It doesn't look like it's it. Gavardiol just started the game. He looked terrible yesterday.
I think
to be
Diaz
honest,
is back.
I don't know if Diaz is back. Changes everything. But as far as I know, Diaz and Stone are not back. They needed 10 days, and they missed that last game. That's what I know. They needed 10 days. But if both of them are back, I think that changes the equation. But the team that I saw yesterday, they weren't great, actually. They didn't create a lot of chances. Haaland looked disjointed.
No, and the Serie puts that ball in when he was one-on-one with the keeper. It's 2-0, they lose. But, I think people forget these little things.
That's always the thing with City, though, isn't it? They always concede that one-on-one chance. He's sitting there going, if they just scored that, City.
That's what I'm saying.
And
it's actually, he scores that. They're 2-0 up. I think it was the first chance in the second half. They'd be 2-0 up. So,
but to be honest, Stuffy as well, City are not going to play the same. They're not going to play like with two fullbacks. We know that they're going to play Rico Lewis and it's going to be inverted in the midfield again.
Yeah, they're going to change it up.
They're going to change it up. That experiment that happened yesterday is how City looked in the beginning of last season with two fullbacks, with Cancelo and Walker. And Haaland looked scoring goals, but they didn't create as many and they conceded chances. That's how I see it. He has to change it, to be honest, Guardiola. He has to go back to inverting somebody, playing three center backs, and even Akanji lost the ball like 3 times. They almost conceded 3 times.
They did. But the thing is, I thought it was a poor performance from City last night, but I just don't see them doing that two games running as an they always find a way. Michael here says football season has started. Kroenke isn't spending any more on Arsenal unless they sell. And Philly here, who's a gooner, says bottom middle Chelsea fan. His name's Don. Is an Arsenal hater. Is what my G here says.
I was actually bigging you guys up last show. All I'm saying is you've got a lot of bodies you need to get rid before you bring someone in. That's it.
You have to learn from Chelsea. They can sell.
Can I ask you, why is the Chelsea fan supposed to be an Arsenal lover?
Yeah, exactly. There's that. But I ain't going to Arsenal.
Show talk about other
clubs. No, Don is young. He's
agendas.
Not that old. He didn't switch. Don is not that old. Don is young. He didn't switch from Arsenal to Chelsea when they started.
No, never.
I give him that.
No, Don's so young that Arsenal were bad when he was coming up as a kid. Like, he picked Chelsea because they were winning. Do you know what I'm saying? 100%. 100%. Boys, I want to thank you all for this show today. It means a great deal. Viewers, remember, go and get signed up now to NordVPN. Protect yourself online. Use a lot of their amazing services that they have. Go check out their website now. Scan that QR code. But remember, you can sign up. You can sign up right now and use the app that we've said it's Setanta Sport when you sign up with them to get your Premier League football, your UFC, and whatever else it is that you may actually go out there and watch. It's all available for you right now. If you need any help with it, drop me a DM. But it's very simple. Just search Setanta Sport on your app store. It is available. Turn the NordVPN onto Moldova, where it's based, and you get all your Premier League stuff, your UFC, your NBA, your NFL, and much, much more. Gentlemen, it's always a pleasure to sit and talk football with you all. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon.